Well, folks, good day to you one and all, and welcome to our normal night of fun, a Wednesday night, and it's international iRacing and national iRacing at its best. And as usual, we have our normal voices that are joining us this evening. Frankie Innes, good evening to you.
Gary, good evening, and a big thanks to Canvas Intelligence for the sponsorship of the Porsche Cup and the MSA GTE series. And we kick off with the Porsche Cup, and Dr. Mike Verrier is the first man on the track. And joining us, Mike's side this evening, after missing out the first round of the Porsche Cup and the GTE series, is FC Nivo. FC, good evening.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, everybody at home, and lovely to be here with you guys in the Second Gear studio, bringing to you round number 2 of the MSA series, starting off with the Porsche 992 support event cup, coming to you live from the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari circuit there, or better known as the Imola circuit, from the city of Imola in the San Marino region in Italy, with the track length at 4.86 kilometers, with about 42 meters above sea level, with track temperature at 22 degrees.
Yeah, and 73% chance of precipitation, but I don't think that's going to happen. 12 kilometer an hour wind, and clear-ish sky with a hint of a sun sticking its head out there in between the clouds. So this is round number 2 of the Canvas Intelligence series, and we start off with the Porsche 992 Cup support event.
The guys are out on their sighting lap. The computer says, oh, Mike Verrier pushing it very, very hard. He has been once around the circuit already, so that would have been his first lap out there to try and put a time up. So everybody goes out, they come out of the pits, they go once around, the timing mechanism picks them up, and then when they come around to complete basically the second lap, that is when they start seeing the times coming up on the qualifying board on the left hand side. Canvas Intelligence, our main sponsor, a big thanks to them, and coming to you from the Second Gear production studio, as we said. So as the times start coming up on the left hand side, we have a good idea as to how the lane's going to lie for this, the second round, as Yas Samai is the first man to complete a warm-up and 1 times flying lap.
Yeah, but Robbie Teings is the next man to post a time, and he goes provisional pole ahead of Samai, with Willem Pinaar coming in a third behind Samai. Let's have a look there what time Mike Verrier can put on the board. That's going to be quite a bit of a slow time, as Janneman Prius puts up a third best time there, and he gets pipped down by Jaco Steyn.
Yeah, 146.333 there by Jaco Steyn. Willem Pinaar's out there in P5. Robbie Teings out on the track. Herman Lazarus is there in that 6, now drops down to 7th position, as Robbie Teings goes back up into P1 with a 145.617 so far by Robbie Teings. And now Scott Montanari, 145.398. He is there in Porsche number 71 in provisional pole, and he was a relatively newcomer to this and did extremely well out in the Porsche Cup a couple of weeks ago.
Well, Montanari pipping Robbie Teings there by about 0.2 of a second, just over 0.2 of a second. Ati Nagel was the man that caused Herman Lazarus to drop down there. He sits in third position on a 145.891, with Yas Samai, Jaco Steyn, Janneman Prius, Dalen Weiss out there in 7th position, followed by Willem Pinaar. Mark Devereaux has put up a time of 151. That was quite a bit of a slow time, but he's back in the pit lane. But just look at that time of Scott Montanari. He is the man to catch on a 1 minute 45.398.
Now, running off the top 12 so far is Herman Lazarus and Wayne Camage. Those are the 12 drivers that's posted a time. But Scott Montanari, 145.398, as we have a look at Dalen Weiss in provisional 8th position with a 146.845. Dalen Weiss in car number 43. There is Willem Pinaar in the 57 Porsche. He's there in 9th position. Done a personal best of a 146.937. Colin Plitt is just outside of the top 10. He's there in 11th with a 147.124. And followed there by Herman Lazarus in that top dozen with a 1:47.492, which is also his personal best time.
Oh, Frankie Atinachel lays down the gauntlet as he drops down Scott Montanari with a 1:45.245, improves by about 1.5 tenths of a second. And Scott Montanari responds 1:45.068, another almost 2/10 of a second down to pip Atinachel to that pole position.
Well, the first 5 drivers are in low to high 1:45s. Make that the first 6. Montanari with a 1:45 dead. Atinachel 1:45.2. Teens 1:45.6. Samai 1:45.63. Duplessis 1:45.7. And a Prius 1:45.9 currently in pit lane. So only 9/10 of a second so far between those first 6 drivers.
Yeah, Kyle McCarthy now just improved on his time. Didn't quite make it past Janeman Prius, but he did manage to put himself into that 1 minute 45s with a 1:45.969. Still holds on to that P7, but let's see what Jaco Steyn can do. Can he improve on his time of 1 minute 46.087? Can he get it below that 1:46 mark to play with the big boys ahead of him?
A big thanks to Jaco Steyn. Done massive amounts of homework in the background to make the whole series possible, and sorting out all our settings and everything for us. So not only a brilliant racing driver, not only a brilliant organizer, linking up with Dr. Mike Villiers of 8-Ball 24/7, but also doing brilliantly out there on circuit. A 1:46.087, just outside of that golden figure in the 45s.
Well, we've got 2 minutes left in the 10-minute qualifying session, and there's approximately a second so far that's separating those first 8 drivers out on track. There is literally nothing between them out there. 1.9 seconds separating the first 13 drivers out on track. Scott Montanari, a 1:44.865, and he's the first driver to hit the 1:44s, doing a high 1:44.
Yeah, Montanari literally laying down the gauntlet, showing the guys what you'll have to beat if you want to beat my qualifying time with a 1:44.865 there. Atinachel still holding on to P2. Peter van Zyl goes up into 3rd position with a 1:45.484.
Yeah, Van Zyl right in there, just ahead of Robbie Teagues with a 1:45.617. Dr. Mike Vera out there in P11 with a 1:46.372. Just outside of the top 10 is the Doc in the 8-Ball 24/7 Porsche, and he is just ahead there of Renier Hubert, that's in P12 with a 1:46.555.
Dalen Weiss right in there behind him with a time of 1:46.650. He is still out on track trying to improve on that time in the number 43 Porsche. Trying to improve on that time to try and get past the guys ahead of him. Willem Pinaar on a 1:46.937 with Wayne Camage, Colin Plitt, Herman Lazarus and Mark Devereaux filling up the positions from 14th down to 18th.
So about 25 seconds left on the clock. I think pretty much where you see those drivers now is exactly where they are going to start. As we watch Dalen Weiss, will he be able to try and improve? Well, he's going to try, but will he improve on that 13th position? I don't think so. There is something like 6 seconds left on the clock before he gets the checkered flag, and he's busy moving now towards Ravazza, so he's not going to improve on that 13th position.
Yeah, there we go. Time's up for qualifying, and that leaves us with the grid for round 2 of the Porsche 992 Cup support event. Pole position going to Scott Montanari in the 71, alongside him Atinachel in the 78. On the second row, Yaz Samai in the number 7, followed by Peter van Zyl.
Then Robbie Teagues and Stephen Duplessis in row 3, followed there by Janeman Prius and Kyle McCarthy on row 4, and Mike Vera and Jaco Steyn in row 5.
Yeah, that's running off your top 10. In P11, Brent Thompson, followed by Renier Hubert. 13th will go to Dalen Weiss with Wayne Camage alongside him, with Herman Lazarus and Willem Pinaar bringing up the next row, with Colin Plitt and Mark Devereaux the second to last row, and Garth de Villiers the last man on the grid.
Yeah, he's in the 10th and final row, all on his own in 19th position. So here we go with 30 minutes of action in the Porsche Cup race, the Porsche 911s or Porsche 992s as they're also known as, and we are going to get going pretty soon. We're still waiting for all of the drivers to box in their grid, and then from there they will get this one underway shortly. You see the drivers beginning to appear there one by one on the grid as the computer puts them in the appropriate grid position, and 19 of them will be doing action out here at Imola in San Marino.
It looks like Ati Nochel there. He comes now. Ati Nochel finally making his way to the grid. So let's see what will happen here in this support race here. Round number 2 of the 992 Porsche Cup is support event. Lights out and away we go. It was a standing start here for the Porsches as Scott Montanari takes them off the line, brings with him Ati Nachel, Yaz Samai, Peter Fossel, Robbie Tings, Janeman Prius, all of them in there into turn number 1.
Yeah, making their way through Tamburello. That big lock up there by somebody. That's at Tamburello. That has been changed after the passing of the late great Mr. Etten Senna. But it's all about Scott Montanari in P1 with Yasamai in second position. As we pan down the field, Stephen Duplessis out there in that 11th position. And he's got Brett Thompson ahead of him and Dalen Weiss behind him as we ride now with Ati Nachel in that third position. We have a replay here at Peter van Zyl. Van Zyl out in that 17 car, losing the circuit and going a bit farming there. He'll lose tons of positions as he rejoins towards the tail end of the field.
Yeah, Ati Nachel has lost a position there as Yaz Samai has taken over that second place, but Kyle McCarthy tries to make a move there, but Ati Nachel retaining that third position. He's got to try and catch up back to Yaz Samai, who's taken that second position away from him, but Scott Montanari already making sure he puts enough of a gap between himself and Samai, and Nachel in third.
Well, we said 30 minutes. It's not. It's a 35-minute race. As we look there at Ati Nachel in that third position in that 78 car. He's chasing down Samai. That's in second place. In turn, chasing down Scott Montanari. As we pan down this field, there is nothing separating this mid-pack from each other. Literally tenths of seconds that is separating this entire mid-pack as Montanari is sitting out there in P1. And he's not getting away from Yaz Samai that is there in that second position. There's only a couple of tenths between them. You watch Robbie Teens going in very hot into that left-hander and loses a position or two in the team Bolt outfit. But it's all about Scott Montanari. He's done a 149.818. He is the fastest man out there so far. Samai was doing a 150 as we look at Samai there. And the gap is getting bigger between Montanari and Samai, and Ati Nachel in turn FC is right on the back bumper there of Samai.
Yeah, I was about to say the gap might be getting bigger between Montanari and Samai, but it's getting smaller between Nachel and Samai, and it looks like Nachel has managed to make a move there on Samai to grab back that second position. He now moves ahead of Yaz Samai in this race. Behind them, Kyle McCarthy in fourth, followed by Robbie Teens, Janeman Prius, Mike Verrier in seventh, and in 8th position, Peter van Zyl.
Right, we're going to see the intervals and the gaps between them. That is the gap from first to second and from first to third. That is the gaps. The intervals is the one that we want to see between each driver, as Gary is just showing us at this point in time the gaps from first to last. So Dalen Weiss at this point in time is 25 seconds behind Scott Montanari, and Dalen Weiss is out there in that 18th position. There's the intervals. That's the one that we want to see as we ride aboard. Third place man, Carl McCarthy, is 1.2 seconds behind the man you just see ahead of him there, Ati Nachel, who in turn is 3.5 seconds behind race leader Scott Montanari.
Yeah, Nachel 3.5 seconds behind there, but Yaz Samai must have made a mistake somewhere as he's not only lost the position. Oh, somebody ran very, very wide there.
I think that might be Teens.
Yes, that might be Robbie Teens out there. But let's have a look at the replay here. Robbie Teens. Just ran it way out there and got it stuck into the kitty litter.
So Robbie Teens will rejoin, losing a heap of places, but Peter van Zyl. Van Zyl is all over the back of Mike Verrier. He's looking up on the inside of Verrier as they make their way into Tamburello, and he makes that move stick there on Mike Verrier. So Van Zyl goes up to P6. Verrier drops down to P7. Watch that gap. Watch out for Robbie Teens there. He's 0.3 of a second behind the man in P8, namely Stephen Duplessis. So there's a lovely fight between them for P8 at this point in time.
Samai sitting there in 4th position. He's about half a second behind Kyle McCarthy now. And he's being chased down by Janneman Prius in the number 3 Porsche out in a 5th position. There we are on board with him now. Behind him, Peter van Sale, and he's being chased down by Mike Verrier, with Stephen Duplessis right behind them in 8th, with Robbie Teings in 9th, and Wayne Camage rounding off your top 10.
Yeah, just behind that top 10 is Jaco Stein. He's having a go there at Camage, and that's at fight for 10th position. And 1.3 seconds behind them in P12 is Herman Lazarus in number 69, and he is being chased there by Willem Pienaar. Pienaar only 4/10 of a second in there behind Lazarus. Plit on the other hand, only 3/10 of a second behind Pienaar. There is really, FC, not much between P10 all the way down to about P16.
Yeah, a lot of action out there as the guys are really close all the way from P10 round down to 16th position. But yes, Samai is going to have his hands full pretty soon with Janneman Prius and all the guys there. But it is Samai who is chasing down Kyle McCarthy. He is 4/10 of a second behind the 3rd place man, trying to get that position back after having such a wonderful start, making it up into 2nd place and having dropped down to 4th.
Another fastest lap out there for Montanari. And Nagel, McCarthy and Samai all doing green laps, other words personal bests there for him. Look at that, from Robbie Teams all the way down, other than Willem Pienaar to Mark Devereaux, all those drivers also doing personal best times.
Yeah, the guys really starting to get their rhythm here. We're 6 minutes into this race, 29 minutes left to go for the guys out on circuit. Riding on board with Peter van Sale as he is chasing down Janneman Prius ahead of him, just 4/10 of a second ahead of him. Just look at how close that is, 4/10 of a second, not that much in terms of actual track space.
Yeah, we ride aboard there with the number 17 Porsche and P6 of Peter van Sale. He's 4/10 of a second behind Prius, who in turn is only 7/10 of a second behind Samai. That's that lovely fight going out there for 4, 5 and 6, Samai, Prius and van Sale, as we have a look at the main sponsor on the side of the Van Sale car, namely Canvas Intelligence.
Yeah, a big thanks to Canvas Intelligence as Peter van Sale goes late on the brakes. He gets right up onto that back bumper of Prius ahead of him, but having braked so hard, you lose that momentum to stay in touch with the guy ahead of you. But he is definitely gaining just 3/10 of a second now, back up to 4/10 as they go down the straightaway. But this man leading it all, Scott Montanari in the 71 Porsche ahead of Atti Nagel in P2.
Yeah, and he's 4.9 seconds, make that 5 seconds ahead of Nagel. Here comes McCarthy, then it's Samai, and then this fight between Prius, Van Sale and Verrier and Duplessis also in there. There's less than 2 seconds separating this group from Samai all the way down to Robbie Teings. Herman Lazarus coming through, the rest of the field just busy making their way through. There's Brent Thompson, 9/10 of a second behind Mark Devereaux. Thompson is there in that 15th position, and a personal best ever 146.991 for Mark Devereaux in 14th position.
Yeah, Mark Devereaux in that 14th position. Behind him, Brent Thompson, Dalen Weiss, Colin Plitt, and Rainier Hubert rounds off your whole team. Garth de Villiers, man who unfortunately did not make it out to the start of this race, and unfortunately not qualified as a racer in this race anymore. But riding on board with Peter van Sale, chasing down the man ahead of him still, Janneman Prius, and that gap just stays so consistent. It hovers between about 3.9 or 3/10 of a second up to about 5/10 of a second between the two of them.
Yeah, that's my Prius and Van Sale that you are seeing in that same shot there. Here is Peter van Sale, and look was all over him. Van Sale coming through there. Prius is right in there. He's just ahead of Van Sale. That's a lovely fight. That is Van Sale that's crawling all over the back there of Janneman Prius, and Janneman Prius has to watch his P's and Q's. There's a 10th of a second between himself and Van Sale. You can cover them with a handkerchief. Into that left-hander they go. Is that into Ravazza? Yes, it is. That's that final double-hander. That is Ravazza. Now, from here, they'll be making their way down towards the main straight. There's the pit entrance on their right-hand side. This is probably one of the fastest parts of the circuit as they head past that famous control tower on the right hand side towards Tamburello Curve.
Yeah, into Tamburello curve. They're going to head pretty soon there. They go that left-hander. That is the Variante Tamburello as they go through there. And Peter van Sale, unfortunately, losing a bit of ground there. He made it up so nicely. Let's see if he can chase him down again.
They're heading now towards Villeneuve, and this is where Roland Ratzenberger sadly lost his life this Saturday in the San Marino Grand Prix in 1994, with Senna unfortunately on the Sunday. Brett Thompson, a replay, getting it all wrong, out of shape there, just trying to fight with that Porsche and managing to keep it on the tarmac.
Let's have a replay here. Ooh, that's contact made with Mike Verrier. That sends him off into the gravel and just manages to get back ahead of the guy who put him there. But Mike Verrier luckily not losing out too much on that, but it does put him into trouble there as Mark Devereaux comes past as well in the number 19.
He played Scott Montanari, the leader. What did Scott Montanari do wrong? No, he just seems to be doing his own thing out there. But Peter van Sale is 1.9 seconds behind Janeman Prius as he loses the circuit slightly. As a matter of fact, McCarthy and Samai are having a lovely fight out there for that third position. And then a bit further down for P7, Verrier and Teens. They also having their own little battle out there as we keep an eye here on Scott Montanari, who is nearly 6 seconds ahead of second place man Atti Nagel.
Yeah, Atti Nagel trying his best to catch up there. Behind him it's Kyle McCarthy, then Yaz Samai in fourth, followed by fifth place Janeman Prius and Peter van Sale in sixth. Mike Verrier sitting in that seventh place, followed by Robbie Teens, Jaco Steyn in ninth, and Herman Lazarus in 10th.
Wayne Camage is there in that 11th position, just behind Lazarus. And then we've got 1.8 seconds behind him in P12 is Willem Pina. Willem Pina, who's done a personal best of a 147.607. And then Mark Devereaux, 2.6 seconds behind him. Behind Pina, has also done a personal best of a 146.820. So yeah, it's all happening out there. A lot of drivers getting quicker and quicker and faster. And this man, Montanari, nearly 6 seconds in P1 ahead of P2 man Atti Nagel.
Yeah, Scott Montanari, he's out there claiming his stake in this race. But Atti Nagel not giving up just yet. He's doing enough to stay ahead there of third place man Kyle McCarthy, who's about 2.5 seconds behind him, and only just staying ahead of Yaz Samai. It's hovering between about 5 to 7 tenths of a second.
That's a lovely fight there between McCarthy and Samai, and there's less than a second between them. And Janeman Prius in that fifth position is joining that party as well. He's just under a second behind Samai in P4 in car number 7. So that is that fight out there for third position between McCarthy, Samai and Prius, as we look at the back end of the McCarthy Porsche from the front end of Yaz Samai.
Yeah, a beautiful camera angle there from the front of Yaz Samai's Porsche, and Janeman Prius not too far behind him. Peter van Sale seems to have made a mistake somewhere. He's dropped way down. In fact, he's continuing to drop down from Janeman Prius as Prius has started to pick up the pace to chase down the fourth place there of Yaz Samai.
Well, McCarthy, I see, is quicker out there than what Nagel is, and that was their last lap, and he's only 2.8 seconds behind Atti Nagel as we ride aboard here. Look at that front left suspension of fifth place man Janeman Prius, 0.5 of a second just behind Yaz Samai, and Samai is right in there just behind McCarthy. You can see all three of them in that same shot, McCarthy, Samai and Prius, all in the same frame.
Riding on board there with Janeman Prius in his number 3 Porsche as he traces down Yaz Samai. He's dropped down to just over a second there. Now gets back to under that second mark as they go through the corners. He's right on the case there of Samai, as the slightest mistake from Samai could drop him back from McCarthy. But let's have a look here. What is Mike Verrier doing? He's now closed down to the back end there of Robbie Teens.
Yeah, I was watching that one. He's now just under a second behind Robbie Teens in that fight for 7th position between car 107 and number 9, fighting it up there for 7th position. That is Robbie Teens and Mike Verrier. We ride aboard with Dr. Mike as we have a look at through that front windscreen there of Mike Verrier You can see Robbie Teams in there just ahead of him, and now Mike is only 4/10 of a second behind Robbie. And as we're watching that, FC 1:44.851, another fastest lap out there for Scott Montanari.
Yeah, fastest lap of the race for Montanari, that 1:44. Beautiful lap there by him. Atinachel only manages to do a 1:46, so losing 2 seconds a lap there to Montanari is the rest of the field there in the hands of Nachel and McCarthy. But let's have a look here. Mike Verrier right on the case of Teens. He touches the brakes not to make contact there with Robbie Teens, and Teens escapes this one.
Yeah, through Tamburello they go now, and he is 6/10 of a second behind Robbie Teens. He was right on his back bumper when they went into Tamburello. Janneman Prius, he's still there in that 5th place. He is chasing down Samai and McCarthy. That is Samai just ahead of him, and McCarthy just ahead of Samai. Only 3.9 seconds ahead of Samai is McCarthy, and there's the two of them in the same picture, in the same frame, the two of them. Carl McCarthy in P3, Yasamai in P4, 4/10 of a second separating the two of them for that 3rd position.
Yeah, that 3rd position is becoming very, very hot between McCarthy, Samai and Prius, as all of them are battling out there as they go through Variante Alta on this circuit here. That's turn 14 and 15, that quick right left-hander as they go down into turn number 16 now, into that as longish straight, and then they're going to find Ravazza waiting for them at the bottom of this field going down here. Mike Verrier in 7th position. We're just behind Robbie Teens there, closing down that gap again. Mike Verrier looking very, very racy out in 7.
Yeah, sitting out there in P7. There's not much between the two of them as they make their way out of Ravazza. Through Ravazza they go now as they climb on the gas, making their way down that long straight. Pit entrance there, you see the pits on the right hand side. There's the grid positions as they go flat out down the home straight, making their way now towards Tamburello. There they go on the brakes, that little kink just before you go into a Tamburello as they work their way through Tamburello. Now from Tamburello they'll go flat out towards Villeneuve as we have a look at Atinachel. Atinachel FC, as I was busy calling the corners for the other guys, has caught right up onto the back of Montanari. But I did see early on that Montanari did a 1:53. It did pop up on the leaderboard, so Ati right on the case of Scott. Scott definitely made a mistake out there.
Yeah, Montanari definitely made a mistake somewhere, because Atinachel is like within a second there of Montanari. I would like to see if it's picked up on the replay exactly what Montanari did there, but that massive lead that he had of about 7 to 8 seconds, it's all dwindled down to almost nothing.
Yeah, and now he's going to do all that hard work again, because he's only just over a second ahead there of Atinachel, and he had a sizable lead there on Atinachel. It's now under a second that Nachel is all over the back there of Montanari. While it's roundabout now that Montanari is going to have to just calm it down. I don't quite know exactly what happened out there. You see 1:53, so he did have a problem out there on the circuit. Whether it was a car issue or a driver error, I don't know, but I definitely saw, and there you can see FC, it was a 1:53.2.
From the production side, we've just had a look through the incidents, and it doesn't show an incident. So whatever it was, he kept it on the black stuff somehow or other. So probably a massive save. It would be nice after the race if he would load that up for us, that we can see exactly what it was. But definitely pressure's on.
Yeah, pressure's on there, and I doubt it would be a case of coasting to try and save some fuel. But yeah, riding on both there with Scott Montanari in the 71, leading this race ahead there of Atinachel in P2. He's closed it down to about 1.8 seconds, but now already look at Montanari stretching his legs again out in P1. Carl McCarthy in P3 with Yaz Samai right on his case.
Yeah, this is going to be good stuff. McCarthy, Samai and Prius in 3, 4 and 5, and there's nothing between them. Prius is okay, he's 7.8 seconds ahead of Robbie Teens, but Teens is not safe because he's got Mike Verrier and Peter van Zyl. There you see all three of them in the same picture, Robbie Teen 6/10 of a second ahead of Veria, and he's only 4/10 of a second ahead of Van Sail, and these guys are going one-on-one out the FC for P6.
Yeah, somebody locked up heavily going into that corner there between the three of them. Jaco Steyn sitting there in that ninth position. He's about 3 seconds behind them. Herman Lazarus another 5, almost 6 seconds behind Steyn. He's being chased down by Wayne Camich, Mark Devereaux in that 12th position, and Dalen Weiss in 13th place.
Yeah, he's 1.9 seconds behind Devereaux is Dalen Weiss. There you see him go into that little chicane. Mark Devereaux, Dalen Weiss just in there behind him. But you've got to focus on this one. Janeman Prius and Yasamai. There's Prius. There you see the two of them make their way out of picture. Down the main straight they go, heading towards Tamburello on the brakes. Through Tamburello curve they go now. And Yasamai is 6/10 of a second in there, just behind 4th place man, Janeman Prius.
Replay here of Brent Thompson going and doing a bit of farming in the kitty litter with the number 12 for Porsche. Let's see who else here. Willem Pinaar. Is that the same spot? It almost looks like it's the same corner, but he goes very, very wide, goes and turns that Porsche into a plow.
Yeah, and in FC's famous ploegje, and I think that's exactly what he was just doing out there. And Peter van Sail. Now he made a mistake. Remember, Van Sail was challenging for track position, and Niall dropped down there behind Teens and Veria in that replay.
Yeah, that one's going to cost him pretty badly. Let's see here, Willem Pinaar again running very, very wide.
Same
not
place.
Happy, yeah, same place. Not happy with the handling on that Castrol GTX sponsored Porsche.
Yeah, so all problems out there for them, and issues here for Colin Plitt, bouncing over the curbs and then finding himself there doing some farming as well as he rejoins that 75 Porsche on circuit.
All right, going back to the lead of this race, Scott Montanari leading this race. He's already put the gap back up to about 3.2 seconds ahead of Ati Nagel. Nagel doing his utmost best to try and stick to the tail end there of Montanari, but he's doing enough to pull away from Kyle McCarthy in 3rd.
Yeah, Kyle McCarthy's got a little bit of a safety zone. He's 1.1 seconds ahead there of Janeman Prius. It was once upon a time under a second, but Janeman Prius has got Yasamai, who is just under a second behind him. So Prius has been kept very busy there by Samai in that fight for P4 and 5 at this point in time. Peter van Sail is there in that 6th position. Now remember, he dropped behind Teens and Veria, and he's having a fight with Teens because he got his nose ahead of Teens again, FC, but Teens has repassed him, and now there's a second between Teens and
Major contact there.
Teens is
Major
involved in that
contact.
one.
Yeah, that was Robbie Teens. You would, Peter van Sail, Robbie Teens, all of them in there. That was a battle for position. Let's just have a look at it again. Here is the replay. Was there a lock-up? Did he touch? Oh, he got onto the go. There was major contact
And
between
that's Van
Robbie
Sail.
Teens and Peter van Sail.
Yeah, you're quite right. So at that position, they just chop and change between the two of them, as I was mentioning earlier on FC, and then you picked up that issue out there. So now we'll have a look on board of Robbie Teens. You can see in his wing mirror, you can see Peter van Sail. He just picked him up in that left wing mirror, and then there was contact between Van Sail and Teens.
Yeah, I would have liked to see that swap of positions just before that happened, to see if there wasn't maybe a bit of retaliation or something happening. But yeah, the guy's major contact there, and that's going to cost both of them a lot. And that puts a big smile on Jaco Steyn's face.
Yes, it will put a smile on Steyn's face, and on Veria's as well, for that matter. But Scott Montanari out there in P1, he's 3.3 seconds ahead of Ati Nagel. So slowly but surely, Scott is beginning to build on that lead that he lost earlier on to Ati Nagel. Kyle McCarthy there in that 3rd place, nearly 8 seconds behind them, but he has got Prius 3/10 of a second right on his back bumper. So that fight is not done between the two of them. And then you just see Yasamai there as well in that 5th position, 1.2 seconds behind Prius.
Yeah, Samai out there in that 5th position, just behind Janeman Prius. About a second behind him. Prius is also right on the case there of McCarthy, gaining ever so slightly. It's under half a second at this stage of the fight. So Prius could just as well become a big threat there to Kyle McCarthy.
Lovely fight going out there for 10th position between Camage, Teens. There's not much between Camage and Teens in that fight for 10th position. As we watch Samai keep an eye there on Prius and McCarthy just ahead of him. And then also there's a lovely fight between Van Sale and Stein, but this is the one that I wanted to see. Yes, Wayne Camage, Robbie Teens, Dalen Weiss. They are all, well, not Dalen Weiss, he's 2/10 of a second behind them. So that is the fight there between Camage and Teens, and Lazarus
And
also
Lazarus,
involved in that one as well. So that's a 3-way fight out there between the 3 of them.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a fight that we've got to keep an eye out with the likes of Wayne Camage right on the case there of Lazarus. Robbie Teens desperate to try and get past and make up the ground that he's lost there due to that contact with Van Sale. So let's see what they can do going into that corner. Is that Ravazza? Yeah, coming down the hill into Ravazza, and that's going to bring them back out onto the home stretch.
Oh, Robbie Teens all over the back end there of Wayne Camage. There's 5/10 of a second between Camage and Lazarus, and 7/10 between Teens and Camage. And then catching up to them, 1.2 seconds behind them is Dalen Weiss. And Dalen Weiss has got Mark Devereux all over his back bumper as well. There you see the 3 of them. There you see Weiss coming through, and right behind him you see the number 19 Porsche of Mark Devereux.
Yeah, Mark Devereux out there in the number 19 Porsche in 13th position. 8 seconds behind them, almost 9 seconds. That's Willem Pinaar in 14th position, with about a 6-second gap between himself and Colin Plitt, with Brent Thompson in 16th, Rainier Hubert in 17th, and Stephen Duplessis at the back end of the field.
But it's all about this fight for 4, 5, and somebody going very wide there. Somebody losing the circuit big time. Might be a back marker. We'll have a look-see as we pick it up early on. As a matter of fact, no, it's Prius. It's Janeman Prius that got it all wrong. My word. Is this due to pressure? Because there you see them go past, and Samai was one of them that went through there as well. So pressure tolling there, FC, on Janeman Prius.
Yeah, Janeman Prius was doing so well. He was catching the likes there of Kyle McCarthy, and that's now completely taken him out of it. He's now dropped to almost about 2 seconds behind McCarthy, and that's put Yaz Samai back into a position where he can challenge Kyle McCarthy to get back into 3rd position.
Yeah, the pressure is now, well, for now, off Yaz Samai. Janeman Prius in P5, 1.6 seconds behind Samai, so we'll have a look-see. Peter Van Sale is in the pits. Yeah, there Peter Van Sale making his way down pit lane, and he's pitting out of 8th position.
Yeah, probably you'll find that he's had some damage there, or a drive-through penalty. Yeah, that looks like a drive-through penalty for that conflict or that contact that he had there with Robbie Teens.
Correct, so he's got a drive-through penalty as Peter Van Sale. Where will he come out? He's dropped down to 12th position, so we will rejoin in 12th position in P12. Mustn't cross that white line.
Robbie Teens also in pit lane. So was that did he also get punished, or is that for a damage repair pit stop?
Brett Thompson also making his way into the pits. Brett is coming in for an official pit. 27 minutes out of 35 done. So we are going to start seeing pit stops coming through now. Scott Montanari, 5.9, nearly 6 seconds ahead of Ati Nagel, so he's building up that lead again, is Montanari. But Yasamai, only 4/10 of a second behind McCarthy, and that's at fight for 3 and 4 position. McCarthy's 13 seconds behind Nagel, but he's in trouble because he's got the number 7 Porsche of the man in P4, Yasamai, all over him, and he's just under 5/10 of a second behind McCarthy.
Yeah, it looks like Yaz Samai has picked up some speed again and trying to push to get back onto the podium there in that number 7 Porsche of his. Janeman Prius, he could be kicking himself.
McCarthy pits.
Oh, McCarthy. There goes Kyle McCarthy into the pit lane.
Yeah, Kyle McCarthy making his way in the pit lane, and he was in that 3rd position. Let's have a look and see who's coming through. Here comes Mike Verrier. making his way through. He will come through and be in that 5th position. Here comes Jaco Steyn. Remember, these guys still have to pit into the pits. Herman Lazarus goes through. Somebody else working their way into the pit lane. Is that Dalen Weiss?
Yeah, that's Dalen Weiss that
Yes.
dove into the pit lane as well. And as the guys start coming past, Willem Pinaar will be catching him pretty soon as well to make a pass on him while Dalen is in the pit area.
So I'm glad we're going back to Scott Montanari, because he will now obviously know that these guys have now started with their pit stops, and we are nearly 30 minutes into this one. Surely Scott hasn't got enough fuel to take it to the end. Dalen Weiss making his way out of the pits. Ati Nagel must still go into the pits, and so must Jas Samai as well. There's 14 seconds between Samai and Nagel, and 6.7 between Nagel and Montanari. So we'll have a look and see, with 30 minutes done out of the 35. Will these three guys have enough to go to the end? FC somehow, I don't think so. They're going to have to come in for a splash and dash somewhere.
I do think they're going to have to come for a splash and dash, as you say there, Frankie. They've been pushing way too hard, and the lap times they put up have been way too quick to be doing this full race on more fuel than any of the other guys.
So let's have a look and see as we watch Dr. Mike Verrier in P6, 6.2 seconds behind Janeman Prius. Here comes Jaco Steyn, 4.6 seconds in P6 behind Dr. Mike Verrier. The doc goes past the pit entrance, and so does Jaco Steyn as well. So I don't know. They obviously know something that the three of us here don't know, that's for sure. So FC replay here at Renier Hubert.
Ooh, Renier Hubert lighting up those rear brakes. You could see the glow on those brake discs as he stomped on the brakes to get into the corner there, as our race leader Montanari passes him out there. Is Renier Hubert having a horrid time out there today.
Yeah, Jaco Steyn out there in that 6th position, and he's 5 seconds behind Dr. Mike Verrier. There is Mark Devereaux, and he is right on the back end there of Wayne Camage. Willem Pinaar is making his way into the pit area, pitting out of that 13th position is Pinaar. Van Zyl is a second behind McCarthy right now. There you see the two of them. There's McCarthy going out of screen, and right behind him is the number 17 Porsche in P11 of Peter Van Zyl.
Peter Van Zyl currently sitting there in that 11th position after serving a drive-through penalty, presumably for that contact that he had there with Robbie Teens. Teens not getting off of that so well. He's down in 13th, but someone runs wide, and Mark Devereaux. Camage, that's Wayne Camage that runs wide, and Mark Devereaux cleverly takes the position away.
Yeah, Camage getting it all wrong, and Ati Nagel making his way into the pit. So Porsche number 78 putting out of 2nd position is Ati Nagel, and that's the mistake that was made there by Camage, and he relinquishes that position to Mark Devereaux. And that's a replay, FC, of 2nd place man making his way into pit lane.
It almost looks like it was a bit of a connectivity issue there for Wayne Camage that cost him that position. But let's have a look here. That is Peter Van Zyl diving up on the inside there of Camage as well. Looked like it, but Mark Devereaux, he's sitting happy in that 8th position. A lot of changes happening behind him. Mark Devereaux now moving up into 7th position. Is that Herman Lazarus that dove into the pits?
Well, somebody just coming out of the pits there, and it might be Jaco. No, there is Jaco Steyn going through. The car just behind Jaco made its way out of the pit lane. So that would then be Devereaux that is coming into the pit area now. You see Lazarus was also in that pit area. So, well, there's 2 minutes left, and I don't quite know if Montanari is going to pit or not. FC, I think if he does, he's going to leave it right until the last, or he's taking one heck of a chance.
Yeah, well, if you take too big of a chance and you actually go into the pits, you actually run the risk of somebody passing you before you cross the start-finish line.
In comes race leader.
There he goes now. Scott Montanari into the pits for a last-minute splash and dash.
Well, he's 24 seconds ahead of Jas Samai, that's in second, who I believe has to make his way into pit lane as well. So we can have a look and see, will Samai go through? or will Samai put that number 7 Porsche in the pit lane?
If they can make this run without going into the pits, Janeman Prius and Mike Verrier, all of them sitting in a very good position there. White flag came out now. It's saying one more lap to go as we're in the last minute of this race. And Scott Montanari dropping down into second position behind Yaz Samai, who has yet to pit.
Well, has Yasamai got it right? I don't quite know. Remember that Scott can know flat out Mike Verrier is in the pit lane as well. So here goes Montanari. He is there in that second position, chasing down Yasamai. Has it all gone wrong for Montanari? Well, theoretically, no. He's done nothing wrong. He's pitted when he felt he needed to. But has it gone all right for Samai at this point in time? I think so. We've got 20 seconds left before the checkered flag comes out, FC. So this should be their final lap.
Yeah, on the final lap they are now. Yaz Samai leading this. Will Samai be able to finish the race without making that pit stop? We'll have to wait and see, because just 1.9 seconds behind him is Scott Montanari, the man who's basically led this race from start to finish right up until this point. He's sitting there it's down to 1.2. So is Samai now starting to coast to try and make it to the end, or is Montanari just that much faster?
No, I think Montanari is that much quicker, that's for sure. Let's have a look. It's now under a second. This is the last lap. Has Samai got trouble? Has he got fuel issues? Is he going slow on purpose? Is he trying to save fuel? Does he not have fuel? I don't know. There's 0.6 of a second between them. Are we heading towards the final corner? This is Rivatsa FC. Take them to the line. Has Samai done enough, or would he get pipped on the line there by Montanari?
Down that last straightaway they go. They're going to cross the finish line. The time is up, and it is Yaz Samai that crosses the finish line in P1. Scott Montanari, he's done nothing wrong, but he's dropped all the way down to P2. Janeman Prius will be the next man to come through. He's going slow. He's got problems. Jaco Steyn, Ati Nagel, all of them come flying past. Jaco Steyn finishing in P3, Ati Nagel P4, with Janeman Prius in P5. And the next man that'll come through is Carl McCarthy.
Yeah, here comes McCarthy in that 6th place, but he's 21 seconds behind Janeman Prius. That did a 2 minutes and 1 second on his last lap. He had absolutely no more fuel in that Porsche, and Carl McCarthy will finish 15.2 seconds in P6 behind Janeman Prius.
Yeah, Janeman Prius in 5th, Carl McCarthy in 6th. Mike Verrier crosses the line there in 7th position. Dalen Weiss will be the next man through in the 43. He'll finish in P8, with Mark Devereaux having a good race, coming and crossing the finish line in that 9th position.
And just behind him, 3.6 seconds, riding off the top 10, is Herman Lazarus. Then Wayne Camage in that 11th position. He's 12 seconds behind Lazarus. And then Colin Plitt will be the next man coming to the line, and he's going to finish, well, he's in a fight there with Thompson, but Plitt will get to the line just ahead of Thompson, who in turn will get to the line just ahead there of Willem Pina.
Yeah, and the next man to come through, the last finisher on the lead lap, will be the man who felt he's been the most wronged in this race, Robbie Teams, having been involved with that contact with the likes of Van Sail. But Van Sail finished behind him in this race, so Robbie Teams finishing in 15th, with Van Sail in 16th, followed by Stephen Duplessis and Rainier Hubert.
Well, brilliant stuff. The Porsche Cup, a big thanks to Canvas Intelligence. And FC, there's your podium. Yasamai in P1, Scott Montanari in P2, and Jaco Steyn in that 3rd position. Jaco would have just seen that Red Sea part when Prius had problems out there.
Yeah, Ati Nagel in P4, with Janeman Prius finishing in P5. Carl McCarthy in P6, Mike Verrier P7, Dalen Weiss, Mark Devereaux, and Herman Lazarus rounds off your top 10.
Well, that was the Porsche 992 Cup support event, and some great action out there. A big thanks to Canvas Intelligence.
I think it's everything we hoped for and more. The second round of the Porsche 992 Cup support event. But I tell you what, there's just as much interest in this as what there is in our main GTE race. That'll be coming to you live in about 23 minutes from now. Don't stray or go away. We've got some interesting videos to show you, and we will come back to you from the commentary point of view with the GTE round number 2.
Up that inside lane there for the 15 of Barkels. Now Barkels going to make it 3 wide off corner number 4. Maybe a little sideways there for Trey Edson, but they're 3 wide once again down here. They're going to put Edson in the middle. Fresher tires to the outside. Bill Martin going to come out like a rocket ship of turn 2.
Pressure tires on both sides, and they're going to try to go for it as the race leader as well. Here comes Bill Martin to the outside of Guillaume Fortin. He's going to get a little tap, go up the racetrack. He's still going to make it work. Here comes the 15, 3 wide for the race lead. It's going to go to Bill Martin coming down into turn 3. He's going to have a nose ahead. He's going to have the pace off the corner. Bit of a tap to Guillaume Fortin, and Barkos is through as well.
Porque está interesante y va a estar infartante este final, Diego.
De brinco y espanto, la pastilla, la mano en el corazón, póngase las manos porque estamos terminando como iniciamos en este Daytona Speedway. ¿Quién? ¿Será Kermel Huerta? ¿Será Miguel Arturo? ¿Será Ledesma? Intenta, ¡guay! ¡Ay! Triway, 3, en el contacto, por dentro.
¡Pedro!
¿Quién gana? Ganó Ledesma. ¿Quién ganó? ¿Quién le ganó? ¡Por Dios! ¿Quién ganó? Raymond Rodríguez aparentemente ganó. Raymond Rodríguez. Kermel Huerta segundo. Manuel Sandoval tercero. Ledesma cuarto. Jorge, explícame.
Josh Conker, but it's nothing there. Conker, he's only got 2 more corners to try to make this work and deny James O'Brien the win.
He got a great slingshot off of turn 2, but O'Brien immediately covers off the inside. Highlight's been the place to be on the corner exit, and it looks like he's got it. They've got lap traffic in the way. They're going to have to split him on either side, but it is going to be Conker who takes the win as he cheers for that victory.
I think it's all behind them now, but you still never really know. You still never really know with these two. It's not a great exit from Peters at all. Tim Matsker has got a fantastic run onto the back straight here. They both should be good at this point. Volantis should be able to open the taps and try and do something into the final chicane. Is this race 700 kilometres at Road Atlanta? Is it going to come down to the final few corners? It might well do. Tim Matsker has to defend this contact very nearly. Peters to the outside line. He breaks so much later. Matsker can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on. Volante Racing look like they're going to take a famous victory in this race. With a pass in the final two corners, they've saved a monumental amount of fuel to overhaul Beniti. Vince Peters and Volante Racing with an Ibra Club Sports Series Classic here at Road Atlanta. 700 kilometres of racing.
Ready? Ready? Ready?
Great success.
Wow, nice impersonation of a lawnmower.
Fatality.
To test your mettle around Montreal. Very difficult to do. It looks to me like Shane Best has had an issue. He's gone for it. Oh my goodness! All right. Well then. That'll do it. Hearing our director Jay Kennedy absolutely cacking himself in the background. What on earth happened here? Best looked like he got a tap from behind, came to a stop, which was the right thing to do. And he tries to get it back going, but might have done it a bit too soon and got sent to the Shadow Realm.
I've just had a look at Ollie Peters here do an 1,000,000-point turn. He hasn't got any steering on the car, and this is a really important replay here because he's trying to ride up against the pit wall where all the crews are. He's just found the break in the wall, and effectively he's trying an 1,000,000 point turn. He's trying to go backwards down the pits right now. Ollie Peters is having a time of it here, trying to get that car into his box. He's got to be careful here about going backwards too much here, otherwise he is going to get himself disqualified, but that car is trying everything.
And there's a phrase, sometimes it's important to know your place as lap traffic. That's going to be critical for these leaders to know where these cars will run, or the lap cars can turn each other in front of the leaders. Caution is out. This could be trouble. The leaders dodge. Big one in the heart of the pack.
That was always going to be the worry when lap cars have a spin. You need a lot of coordination when there's an issue there, and with the way everyone was funneling down, somebody was going to come a cropper, and a big one happens then at Daytona, lap 16 of 200.
Wow. I'm not sure what to say.
That was really disappointing. I think is the best way I could describe that. We had such a good pack going, and to have...
Altus Esports is in control of the field, 40 minutes on the clock.
It's an all-out brawl to stay alive. McLaren front row, Audi, BMW, row number 2. McEwen picked up the throttle. We're racing, and already, oh my word, we didn't even get up into the cutting. A huge stack up, only 4 cars emerge unscathed, and they're still wrecking as they come across the line.
And that is what can happen at Bathurst. That is that is the biggest shunt I have ever seen while watching one of these events. That is a absolutely huge wreck as the leaders run away.
And they're still trying to come through Hell Corner. I'm struggling not to laugh, but that's...
Trade positions, so do Brody Watson, Rob Crisdale at the back end of the top 10. Look at McRae there in the slipstream of Limmer as Oliver takes second place from Limmer. Coming out, oh no, Limmer! And Trevor Leonard's been involved in that as well. There's going to be a huge pile-up. Every car in the field involved.
Someone say the track is jammed, Reese. I think the track is jammed for the exit of Griffin's Bend.
Oh my goodness. They are stopped.
Bathurst 2005 flashbacks. Here we go. Oh, and here comes Craig Spencer. Please stop, Craig. He doesn't need to stop that there. Safety car is summoned.
Because it's the Hyundai side by side. Damon almost leaning a little bit on Sullivan there. Oh, what's happening behind?
Oh, that's a huge one.
Incident. Both of the chicken ups are out. They're all from 7th on back. That is a huge incident. Jaden Evans, Reese Gardner, Nick Wood, Ashley Norman. Oh, wow.
I know we were more or less right-hand version of oval racing at Daytona here, but that was the big one.
Braden Martin gets lucky, but that is Nick Wood, Jaden Edmonds, both into the Armco, both bounce back and they pick up Baldwin, the 2 chicken ups. That's huge for Mitch Dean.
This is Imola. Once part of the Formula One World Championship calendar, this historical track, named after Enzo and Dino Ferrari, hails from north-central Italy and has been subject to numerous revisions since it was founded in 1953. From 1953 to 1972, the track went uninterrupted from Rivazza all the way to the infamous Tamburello Corner. Notorious for its bumpy surface and having a dangerously small amount of room between the track and the concrete wall, as the Santerno River runs directly behind it. From 1972 to 1974, 2 chicanes were added in an effort to slow drivers down: the Variante Bassa, lower chicane, and Variante Alta, higher chicane, situated at the top of the hill leading down to Rivazza, creating the hardest braking point on the track. In 1980, Imola made its debut in the Formula One Grand Prix, after organizers were engaged in a dispute with Monza. In 1981, Imola remained in the F1 circuit as the San Marino Grand Prix. The circuit was subject to constant safety concerns even after adding numerous chicanes. Tamburello Corner was especially dangerous, where a car crashed into the wall in 1987 and another in 1989. The tragic weekend of the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix shocked the motor racing world. Rubens Barrichello would survive a serious crash at Variante Bassa, but sadly, both Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna lost their lives that weekend. So in 1995, major revisions were made to the track layout. Tamburello Corner, previously taken flat out, was converted into a fourth gear left-right sweeper, and a gravel trap was added outside the corner. Villeneuve Corner was also made a fourth gear sweeper with a gravel trap. In an attempt to retain some of the quickness and character of the old circuit, the chicane at Acqua Minerale was eliminated. Variante Bassa was also eventually removed to make way for a more modernized, longer pit lane. After 2006, Imola was dropped from the Formula One World Championship due to lack of funds. Whether Imola will once again be a part of the Formula One World Championship is unknown. Today, Imola is home to the annual 4 Hours of Imola, part of the European Le Mans series. It remains a popular bike racing circuit and has implemented minor changes over the years to be used solely for motorbike events. Imola is an important track in motor racing history. It's a track that yearns to be back in the spotlight.
folks, as we said to you, we'll be coming back to you with the main race of the day, the Canvas Intelligence MSA Series 4 2022, and back with you, two of the most well-known voices in motorsport in South Africa. Sydney Boat, good evening to you.
Lovely to be back here and lovely to witness my first main race of the MSA series.
And joining in Mike's side, Frankie Hennis.
Yes, FC Gary, hi, hello, and we are at the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari in the city of Imola in the district of San Marino, and track temperature will be 24 degrees out there. The outside temperature is 22 degrees, 4.8 k's, and we are 42 meters above sea level.
Yeah, basically finishing off the last couple of minutes of the practice session on this iconic racetrack that used to host the San Marino Grand Prix, and a lot of changes having been made over the course of the years on the circuit due to some high-speed accidents, including the loss of one of the greatest Formula One races of all time, the great Ayrton Senna.
Yeah, the circuit was built in 1953, and then in 1973 there was a layout change due to excessive speed through Tamburello, and then of course in 1994 the blackest weekend in the history of Formula One racing, where Rubens Barrichello was involved in a serious crash the Friday. Roland Ratzenberger passed away in the Villeneuve chicane the Saturday, and then of course 3 times world champion Ayrton Senna in Tamburello the Sunday, which means the circuit was changed again in 1995. They put a chicane there in Tamburello, and there was a major rebuild of the premises in 2007. 21 corners and the track just short of 4.9 kilometers.
Yeah, a lovely racing that we are looking forward to here. Of course, today is a GTE series 10-minute qualifying that will take place right after practice, with the 90-minute main race happening straight after. There will be a rolling start, unlike the Porsches that had a standing start. And of course, the teams that could choose their cars that they wanted to use today, choosing between the Porsche 911 RSR, the Ford GTE, the Chevrolet Corvette C8R GTE, the Ferrari 488 GTE, and the BMW M8 GTE.
And we were watching in practice the cars that they had chosen. FC was the Porsches, the Ferraris, and the BMWs. Those are the 3 manufacturers that the guys chose from.
Yeah, out of all the options, those are the 3 that they went for the most, with Porsche being the main choice of the drivers out there, as we are now starting qualifying, 10-minute qualifying session for round number 2 of the Canvas Intelligence MSA GTE Series for 2022.
And also big thanks to ASAP Motor Spares. They're also one of the big sponsors together with Canvas Intelligence. So here we go, and brought to you by Second Gear Talk Show and Second Gear Productions, Gary Fleming, Gavin Fleming, FC Nivote, and myself, Frankie Yennis.
Well, what you just saw out there on circuit was Umpi Swart attempting to warm up the tires there to start his qualifying session, and unfortunately that didn't go too well for him. But all the guys coming out now for their sighting laps. That's the Ferrari 488. In my opinion, one of the most beautiful cars ever created by the Italians.
And at the last MSA GTE event, all the drivers out there had Porsches, barring one. I think it was Noah Hendricks, if my facts were right. He was the lone sole Ferrari out there on track, and all the other drivers had the Porsches. Today, of course, a little bit different. They're predominantly Porsches, but yeah, there are quite a few Ferraris out there, as well as a couple of BMWs. So the times will be starting to come through pretty soon. The guys are out on their official out lap. That's the Durant Motorsport number 71 car making its way around the track. And yeah, I think that is Byron Mitchell, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, now Byron's in the 21 car. So yes, it's going to be interesting to see the moment the times come through.
It looks like that might be Francois Hubert out there in the BMW. Yeah, the 304 of Francois Hubert. He's out there in that very flat, sleek BMW M8 GTE as he comes down the straight there. With Julian Familiaris out there now starting his lap times as well with the Porsche 911 RSR.
So Chase Herald is the next one that's coming through, as we just see the cars busy making their way through out there. 2 minutes and 32 seconds done of the 10 minutes practice session. So yeah, it's going to be entertaining to say the least. And FC during the practice, as we watch the qualifying, the first 16 cars was separated by a second, and that was in the official practice.
Yeah, only a second covering that top 16. So it will be brilliant to see what the guys do out here on their flying hot laps for qualifying, as we're still riding on board there with Chase Herald busy with his sighting and warm-up lap. Peter van der Spey, Captain Pete, he's out there also in a BMW tonight in that Air Force grey with a hint of orange. And then we've got Keegan Campos out there in the Campos Motorsport car.
Yeah, so Jason Coetzee out there in that 77, and he is in one of the Ferraris that is out there. Is Jason Coetzee in that 77 car. So, and Josh Coetzee, the quickest man out there with a 139. Oh, and he gets pipped there by Jared Boberski. Boberski does a 139.2 dead. Coetzee was a 139.25. Byron Mitchell 139.5. Here we go. FC, here the times are coming through now fast and furious. But the man that's on provisional pole with a 139.2 is Jared Boberski.
Yeah, racking and stacking them right now is everybody out on circuit as the times come pouring in. Jared Boberski on a 139.2. Josh Coetzee on a 139.252. Julian Familiaris out there on a 139.369 with Francois Hubert in the BMW out there on a 139.552 with just under or over 5.5 minutes left to go in this qualifying.
Yeah, Yuri Swart 139.5 in his Porsche. Luke Lucchesi 139.6, and then the first of the Ferraris is in P9 with a 139.732, and that is Noah Hendricks.
Jason could see the next man out in his Ferrari, the 140.019, as Jared Boberski is still the man to catch out there, but the rest of the guys now starting to cram in their laps, trying to make it up the pack. Keegan Campos only going 24th fastest with a 1 minute 41.455.
Yeah, Keegan Masters 139.553 is there in P6. There's a lot of hot shots that's further down the leaderboard. Jason Coetzee 140 dead. Peter Hubert 142. Andrew Thomas a 144. Willem Botha 140.5. Graham Stephen a 140.9. Tristan de Nobrega 140.92 as well. Those are a lot of hot shots that need to make their way to the front of that leaderboard, including the likes, as you said, of Keegan Campos and, for that matter, Chase Herald.
Well, we've got a change at the top. It's now Josh Coetzee who now leads the pack there with a 139.160. Julian Familiaris improves his time to a 139.191. Not fast as yet, only good enough for second provisional pole, with Jared Boberski now starting to drop down. Franz Hubert still there in fourth, riding on board with him now in the BMW. Let's see if he can improve his time.
A second between those first 14 drivers, 139.1 for Josh and 140.1 for Graham Stephen. There is nothing between those 14 drivers. Just 1 second. That is all, with 6 minutes and 15 seconds in the qualifying done. Man, this is going to be some hot stuff out there as we look at Francois Hubert making his way around in P5, and he's the first of the BMWs, 139.479.
Now, Jock Butcher just posted a time of a 139.9, only good enough for 13th position. Keegan Campos improves, but it's still only for 24th. Zach Foster behind him, Swayze Hubert, Tristan de Nobrega, Nati Msimanga, Chase Herald, Sandra Bakari. That is your top 30 positions at this stage of the fight. But your man to catch with a 139.160, Josh Coetzee. Will anybody be able to take away that pole position?
There's approximately 300ths of a second between Coetzee and Familiaris for that P1, with 3 minutes left in the qualifying session, as Leon van Wyk making his way around. He's in P16 in his Porsche with a 142.14 is Leon van Wyk, as he makes his way into pit lane. And Jan Sparmer's coming through there with a 1:43.97. That is Jan that we see there going into pit lane.
Yeah, behind him, Andrew Thomas out there in 20th position at this stage of the fight with a 1 minute 40.458. And let's see if Andrew can improve. The next man would be John T. Weiss with a 140.548 as he's a full tenth of a second behind Thomas there in the current qualifying. So let's see, Andrew Thomas on a flying lap. Can he improve? Matt Shorter goes into 16th position with a 1 minute 40.171. Not where he wants to be, as Thomas makes a big mistake, locks it up, and he's got to abandon that lap.
That's Matt Shorter we see now also just slowing down there. He's in that 16th position. And Keegan Campos making his way going down that main straight is Keegan Campos. Keegan in 25th position with a 140.6. You know what, these guys are so close, so close, so close. If ever you've seen a whole heap of hot shots in one race event, this is it. It doesn't get much better than this. I won't say it doesn't get better. I'm going to say it doesn't get much better than this, because this is going to be magic stuff, and you're going to have to know exactly where to look. So this production studio is going to be busy, and FC and myself are going to have the fun side of it. Put yourself in Gary Fleming's hot seat. He's going to be busy.
He was already sweating during the Porsche Cup, and now he's got to keep his wits up for the MSA series.
Well, folks, we have noted that the live stream going out to you, that the leaderboard through a computer glitch is not fully visible to you. But we've got the best of the best commentators in South Africa. We're going to keep you updated on everything that's happening out there on the circuit. In excess of 36 entries in total. The first 34 showing there on your screen. We're on 9 minutes 24 of the 10-minute session. And what an iconic circuit. For those of you that missed the opening, let's just have a look at that race information, Frankie, once again.
Yes, we come to you from Autodrome Enzo Rodino Ferrari in Imola in San Marino, and the temperature outside is 22 degrees. Track temperature is 25. Track just under 5 k's long, and we're only 42 meters above sea level. Remember that Imola in the San Marino area is basically on the coast, so that track is virtually on the coast.
Yeah, and that brings you a air temperature of about 22 degrees, partly cloudy conditions with a slight breeze of about 12 kilometers an hour.
Right, Josh Kutzer and Julian Familiaris on the front row of the grid, Jared Babursky and Keegan Masters on that second row.
Starting on your third row, front row, Hubert in P5 with Andrew Brown on his outside. Byron Mitchell will bring in row number 4 with Yuri Swart alongside him, with Lucchesi and Luke King bringing in your top 10.
Row number 6 will be Noah Hendricks and Peter Hubert. Row 7 will be Jacques Buerta and Jason Kutsia. And row 8 is Graham Stephen and Matt Shorter.
Leon van Wyk bringing in row number 9 out there. Alongside him, Rudy Marais with row number 10, Tim Haynes and Jan Sparmers, followed by Andrew Thomas in the 21st position with John T. Weiss in 22nd. Willem Botha in P23 and P24 going to Johan Engelbrecht.
Yeah, row 13 is Campos and Foster. Row 14, Sway Schubert and Zed Variera. Row 15, Corne Breert and Tristan de Nobrega. Row 16, Natim Samanga and Chase Herald. Row 17, Sander Bakari, Peter van der Spey. Row 18, Johan Fourie and Jeffrey Kruger. You wouldn't believe that in a month of Sundays. And row 19, all on his own, Andre Steenkamp in the Batmobile.
Yeah, Andre Steenkamp at the back end of the field there. But I would warrant and say that possibly those three did not make it through qualifying, and we might not see them out there because I did not see their names out on the screen once during that qualifying session.
Well, I tell you what, this is going to be brilliant. Big thanks to ASAP and, of course, Canvas Intelligence, Second Gear Talk Show and Second Gear Productions. And here we go. 1.5 hours of ultimate mania. That's all I can tell you. If ever you're going to see a quicker hour and a half go by, don't go away. Sit in front of your television screen or your monitor. because you've got of the best racing drivers, real-time and iRacers in the Republic of South Africa that's taking part in this one. FC, you want to take them off the line? We're going to go green shortly, and away we go.
Away we go, as Frankie says, and it's Josh Kutzer, Jared Waberski, Julian Familiaris, Keegan Masters, Francois Hubert, all of them off the line as they already start jostling for positions there as Byron Mitchell makes it up. Jared Waberski is fighting there with Julian Familiaris, and somebody goes off track. That's Familiaris. It goes off track there and loses position there as he drops down the field to behind Byron Mitchell.
Well, this is absolute mayhem. Have a look at this high-speed train going down into that left-hander and that right-hander into that chicane. I think that's going through Villeneuve. If there's a hairpin in front of them, then they will be making their way towards Tosa. Yeah, that's Tosa that they're coming out of now. That is on the top part of the Imola circuit, and then they'll make their way into a left-hander and then start dropping down, eventually ending up in Ravazza.
Yeah, Ravazza being the last corner, but someone makes a
Oh,
mistake.
that's Umpi.
That's
That's
Umpi
Umpi.
Swart. Yeah, makes a big mistake there. Climbs onto the grass and just puts it into a tailspin, and losing out a lot of positions there is Yuri Swart.
That's not what you want right now, but the man that sits up there in P1 is Josh Kutzer. This man did international karting in Europe about 2 or 3 years ago. He is there in P1. There he goes, Josh Kutzer, one of South Africa's top karters. I think he was based in France, if I'm not mistaken, sitting out there in P1 with Jared Waberski in the DAW outfit sitting in second position. Then it's a Keegan Masters out there in third. There is Byron Mitchell in that fourth position. Not too far behind him is Luke Lucchesi. Luke will be the first of the master drivers, so to speak, and he sits there in P5, just ahead of Familiaris in P6.
Yeah, Julian Familiaris in P6. Andrew Brown's fought his way up into P7, followed by Jacques Butter, Noor Hendricks, then Jason Kutsia. Those are the two Ferraris that round off your top 10.
Yeah, they're the first of the Ferraris, first and second in Ferrari class, if you could call it that. There isn't a Ferrari class, but hypothetically speaking, and they're sitting there in P9 and P10 as we have a look at Jacques Butter. That is there in that 8th position, and he's got Hendricks and Kutsia and Shorter. They are racked and stacked, and that is almost in that mid-pack.
In that mid-pack they are is Jacques Butter in the number 8. But your race leader in the 61 Porsche is Josh Kurtzer, followed there by Jared Waberski and Keegan Masters in P2 and P3, with Byron Mitchell just over a second there behind Keegan Masters.
And look at those intervals, FC. That proves to you that there is nothing, and I mean absolutely zip-zat zero between those 30 drivers that you can currently see there on screen. There's Keegan Masters in third place, 0.4 of a second behind Jared Waberski. That's nothing. Waberski is nearly a second behind Josh Kutzer at this point in time. Now remember, the last event Josh did extremely well. He was out there in that top 3, then got involved in an incident and got a drive-through penalty by the clerk of the course, Mr. Wayne Riddell. A big thanks to Wayne. He is our COC once again today.
Yeah, eventually that penalty got overturned because it was found when they looked at the evidence afterwards that he was not at fault actually, and got that penalty overturned. But the guys are chasing hard out there, riding on board with Luke King in the 22nd position, out there in the number 4 Porsche. He sits there in 22nd, being chased down by the likes of Sawood Varioa and Zach Forster. Look at Zach Forster right all over the back end there of Varioa.
Yeah, and Rudy Marais is all over the back end of Zach Forster's car as well. So that's a lovely fight out there between Varioa, Forster and Marais for that 23rd position. There will be dices and fights all over this place in this one. But look at Waberski and look at Masters. Jared Waberski and Keegan Masters. Waberski's 0.8 of a second behind Kutzer, and Masters only 0.2 of a second behind Waberski. So that is on for first, second and third. Then it's 1.7 seconds before we see Byron Mitchell. Byron Mitchell in that Porsche. The first 8 cars are Porsches, followed there by 2 Ferraris in P9 and 10.
Yeah, but riding on board now with Luke Lucchesi. He's out there in P5. He's about 1.7 seconds behind 4th place man Byron Mitchell. Julian Familiaris right behind Lucchesi there. He's about 2 seconds behind him and staying about 1.3 seconds ahead of the 7th place man Andrew Brown.
Yeah, Andrew Brown is 1.7 seconds ahead of Jacques Butter. that is there in that 8th position. That is Brown, who looked just blitzing through us into that left-hander. Is that Kravatsa? Yes, it is. That's the last double left-hander before you make your way up the main straight. There is Leon van Wyk. Leon van Wyk in that 12th place, only 0.8 of a second behind Matt Shorter. That is there in that 11th position as they race down the home straight.
Yeah, down the main straight they go. Beautiful shot there from the in-car camera of Leon van Wyk as they go down the main straight. They're going to hit the brakes hard now for Tamburello. Into that left-hander they go. There they go now into the Tamburello chicane. It'll take you up into past turn number 4 into the 5th corner there, which is called Variante Villeneuve.
Yeah, Villeneuve. That's the Villeneuve that they're going to now. Variante Villeneuve. Then there's a little bit of a straight before they get to that 90-degree turn to the left, and that is called Tosa. Through Tosa they go now. There's on board Leon van Wyk, making their way through Tosa as he goes through the gearbox there, and he is sitting there in that 11th position, only 0.8 of a second behind Shorter. Somebody's gone off. Somebody has gone off.
That's Jason Kutsia that's gone off there.
Yes.
In the Ferrari as he drops down the leaderboard. That is Jason Kutsia. So Leon van Wyk managing to stay out of trouble there. He's now moved up into 10th position.
Yo, Jason Kutsia all the way from 0 to hero. But it's all about this international carter, Josh Kutsa, that sits there in P1 with Jared Boberski 0.5 of a second behind him, followed there by Keegan Masters. They're all three of them in that same picture. Then it's 1.8 seconds before we see Byron Mitchell. Mitchell in turn is 1.6 seconds ahead of Luke Lucchesi. There's Mitchell, there's Lucchesi coming towards us now. And right behind him is the Mobile 1 car of Julian Familiaris.
Yeah, Familiaris in P6 with Andrew Brown, the man there in the number 11 car. He's about 1.1 seconds behind Familiaris. He's being chased down by Jacques Buerta, but Buerta has got a bit of work ahead of him if he wants to make up that 2.3 seconds.
Jacques Buerta's gone up 5 positions, sitting out there in that 8th position. Leon van Wyk, as a matter of fact, in P10 has gone up 7 positions, and Timmy Haynes in P11 has gone up 8 positions so far. So some of the drivers dropping down. Natim Samanga, for that matter, has gone down 3 positions. So really they're chopping and changing. That is Noah Hendricks in the Ferrari, sitting there in 9th position, 1.7 seconds behind the Porsche of Jacques Buerta.
Yeah, that's the highest placed Ferrari at this stage of the fight. Leon van Wyk sitting there in P10, the man that we're riding on board with now. Behind him in 11th position, Tim Haynes, about 3.3 seconds behind Van Wyk, with Peter Hubert right on his case in that BMW, starting to apply pressure there to Haynes.
Now that's the lead BMW in 12th position, and he's got the Porsche of Keegan Campos of Campos Transport. That is right there with him. He's 0.6 of a second is Keegan behind Peter Hubert, and Keegan in P13, just outside of the top 12.
Keegan Campos that tried to make that Porsche fly. Swayze Hubert riding on board with him in the BMW. He's sitting there in a P14. He's got about 2 seconds to go to catch Campos, but doing just enough to stay ahead there of Matt Shorter, who's about 1.2 seconds behind him in P15.
Yeah, Matt Shorter, and then Johan Engelbrecht is in that 16th position as we look at that BMW go through. This is John T. Weiss making his way back out of the pit lane. Was it for a pit stop? Was it for a penalty? We don't know at this point in time, but he's making his way back out onto the circuit and slows right down to avoid a contact, but that could actually have caused contact.
Well, that could have caused massive contact out there, stopping dead like that out on the circuit. But riding back on board with your 14th position holder, Swayze Hubert in the 32 BMW. He's staying ahead there of Matt Shorter and Johan Engelbrecht. Engelbrecht also starting to apply pressure there to Shorter, but Shorter is just 0.3 of a second behind the likes of Swayze Hubert.
Oh, look at that train coming towards us. That would be Hubert, Shorter, Engelbrecht, and then look at them all racked and stacked behind them. That would be Thomas, Palmer. Wow, man, this is magic stuff. Here comes Zoid Variawa in that 21st position. Zach Foster coming through his 1.5 seconds head there of Rudy Marais. That is in the Porsche, then the Ferrari of Swayze Hubert, right on his case. Swayze only 0.2 of a second. Francois, apologize, only 0.2 of a second behind Rudy Marais.
Riding on board there with your 25th place man, Sandro Bakari in the 72 Ferrari. He's out there in P25 ahead of Andre Steenkamp. But Bakari chasing down Francois Hubert. He's only 0.8 of a second behind him. But Andre Steenkamp, the next man out there. But right back up to the top of the field, Josh Kurtzer leading this race, but not out of trouble yet. Jared Waberski under half a second.
Just to give you some information, folks, if you look at the battle box on the right-hand side of your screen, we're aware that you folks sitting at home cannot see the leaderboard. For that, we apologize. Unfortunately, a technical glitch just before we went live. But if you have a look at that battle box, you will see the green line alongside the name of the person that's in the middle of that box. That's the person that is in fact on screen. Alongside that is his number. As you can see, Josh Kutcher hasn't gone any places up or any places down. It's Jared Oberski in second and Keegan Masters in third behind him. But then what it also indicates to you is that in front of that, the next man that they will catch up to, that's 18 seconds further up the road, is the 32nd place car of Graham Stevens. So I trust that will give you a fair amount of additional information during the course of this 90-minute event.
Now that'll be the first man that Josh puts a lap on, will be Graham Stephen. And Graham dropped down 17 positions, so not all is well there with the Graham. Obviously something must have happened out there on that lead lap. But as we watch our three leaders going into this chicane, it's Kutzer, Waberski and Masters. 0.4 of a second between Kutzer and Waberski, and 0.5 between Waberski and Masters. And the three of them have got a decent lead there on Byron Mitchell in 4th place. They're 2.4 seconds ahead of Mitchell.
Yeah, and look, normally we know what kind of pace Luke Lucchesi can put out on circuit. For him to only be 5th place behind the likes of Kutzer, Waberski, Masters, Mitchell, that just tells you the quality of this field. Because Luke Lucchesi currently sitting out there in 5th place, and second behind Byron Mitchell, and only just managing to stay about 0.8 of a second ahead there of Julian Familiaris in 6th.
Yeah, and he is 2.5 seconds behind Lucchesi as we watch the Mobil 1 car, and here comes Andrew Brown. He is 0.9 of a second, just under a second behind Familiaris. He is 7th place man Andrew Brown. So he has got missile lock there on Julian as they make their way into that little chicane. That's Julian, and that is Andrew. Here comes Jacques Buerta. He's in 8th position. He's 3.5 seconds ahead of Noah Hendricks. There's Noah Hendricks in the lead Ferrari.
Yeah, and next up, Leon van Wyk. He's about 1.1 seconds behind Noah Hendricks with his Porsche, and he's managing to stay about just under 2 seconds ahead there of Tim Haynes in P11.
But look at that fight for 13th. Keegan Campos and Matt Shorter. Haven't we seen this before in real-time racing? In single-seaters and in a Polar Cup racing, Keegan Campos, Matt Shorter, we've seen it all before, and they're having a dice out there for that 13th position. Keegan Campos, Matt Shorter, lovely to see these guys go 1-1, this time in iRacing.
Yeah, it's under 0.2 of a second there between the two of them. There's almost nothing in between them as they're right on each other's bumpers, and Suisse Hubert has got a wonderful view of that fight down in 15th place. Behind him, Johan Engelbrecht in the BMW in 16th position, followed by Jan Sparmers, who's right on the case there of Engelbrecht.
Yeah, he's 0.8 of a second in there just behind Engelbrecht is Sparmers, and he's only 1.2 seconds ahead of Luke King. So Luke King not out of it yet in that fight between Engelbrecht and Sparmers for that 16th position as Chasey Herald coming through. He's got Saud Variawa right there with him. So Variawa under braking sails in there underneath the back wing there of Herald.
Yeah, Herald and Variawa managed to get past there as Johan Engelbrecht went off. Let's have a look at this there. That's Jan Sparmers as Engelbrecht spun it there ahead of him as Jan Sparmers managed to not to touch him in any way with that 999 Porsche.
Right, so back to real time again. Here we go. Variawa has got him. Variawa's made the move there on Chasey Herald, and he's made it stick. Herald drops down to 19th, and Variawa moves up to 18th position.
Let's have a look at the battle up front. Keegan Masters in the number 18 Porsche. He sits there 0.6 of a second behind your race leader, Jared Waberski. We missed something because Josh Kutz has fallen all the way down to 3rd position.
Yeah, we definitely missed something because it was Kutzer, Waberski and Masters So he's gone from P1 to P3, and the other two have moved up. Jared Waberski in the DAW outfit sitting out there in P1. Keegan Masters in that second position, 0.6 of a second between Waberski and Masters. Let's have a look at Zach Foster. A replay here of Zach Foster, and just bouncing over the curbs and almost plowing into one of those BMWs in there just behind him.
Yeah, not going to be very happy with that one is Zach Foster as he limps back to the pits to try and get that number 30 Porsche sorted out. Parks it all there on the straight. But riding on board with your race leader, Jared Waberski in the number 20 Porsche, he cannot take it too easy because half a second behind him, Keegan Masters applying a lot of pressure out there to try and catch up and take that first position away from him.
I love that quick camera view we saw there as we ride aboard with the second place man, Keegan Masters. You saw Kutzer just 1.4 seconds behind them, and then Mitchell and Lucchesi was right in that fight as well. But we are on board with the Porsche of second place man Keegan Masters, 0.7 of a second between himself and Jared Waberski, and he is going after Waberski, that's for sure. 16 minutes out of 90 he's done so far. Waberski leads Masters, leads Kutzer, leads Mitchell, leads Lucchesi. That is your front five as we look at that front left hand side suspension of the Keegan Masters Porsche.
Yeah, riding on board there with the Masters as he's got that missile lock there on Waberski. Waberski doing just enough to stay ahead there of Masters. Masters trying everything, trying to make up any tenths of or thousandths of a second to catch up to him. There is a Keegan Masters, but ahead of him, Waberski followed by Josh Kutzer in third and Byron Mitchell in fourth.
Yeah, and he's got Lucchesi all over him. We'll have a look at that one. There we go. That is the fight there between Byron Mitchell and Luke Lucchesi. There's Mitchell, and here comes Lucchesi in there behind him as they race down the main straight into Tamburello. They go. That is as quick as it gets. They had to slow Tamburello down as Lucchesi sails in there behind Mitchell, and they are fighting out there for that fourth position at this point in time, making their way up now towards Villeneuve. Through Villeneuve they go, and then that left-hander you see in front there, that is Tosa, and that is the highest part, or should I say the furthest part of the Imola circuit.
Yeah, then they go down that short straight at the top of the circuit that heads out into a short right-hander, or a very easy right-hander, and then into that hard left-hander Piratilia, turn number 9, before they go down all the way to the Aqua Minerali, turn 11 and 12. But big battle out there for these guys at the front. Jared Waberski, Keegan Masters battling it out, still just half a second between the two of them, and Josh Kutzer now starting to fall back even more.
Nothing much between them whatsoever, but for the folks at home that cannot see the leaderboard as we can see it here, let's run through the field to give you a bit of backdrop information. As we said, Jared Waberski, Keegan Masters, around about a half a second between them. Josh Kutzer, 1.9 seconds further back. Byron Mitchell, 1.1, and in there, in the game, the charger himself, it is Luke Lucchesi. You don't get away from that man very easy. He's one of the top pushers out there on the circuit. Julian from the RS, the very well-known racer, Julian from the RS, has got Andrew T. Brown in there behind him. Also out into the front main now, Jacques Buerter and Noor Hendricks. And Noor Hendricks in the in frame in a couple of seconds from now. There he comes. There's Noor Hendricks, the first and of the Ferraris out there. Leon van Wyk, not a very well-known name to us, but doing brilliantly. He rounds out the top 10, but don't forget about Timmy Hayes. Timmy has shown in previous races that he's very, very capable of working his way into the top 10 and further up. That is your top 10. And from there on down, FC take us through.
Yeah, the next man out there behind them is Peter Hubert in P12, followed by Matt Shorter in a P13, about 2.8 seconds behind Hubert. Behind Shorter, 2.5 seconds behind him, Keegan Campos. in P14, followed by Luke King, another 4.3 seconds adrift, followed there by Swayze Hubert, 1 second behind them, and Sawud Varihawa. He's right on the case there of Hubert, right on that back bumper. He's going to try and make a move pretty soon, is Sawud Varihawa, as he runs that Porsche very wide. Behind them, Jan Sparmers, Chase Herald in P19, and Rudy Marais in P20.
Yeah, P21 is Francois Hubert, and he's being kept occupied there by Andrew Thomas. Thomas only 0.5 of a second there behind Francois Hubert. In 23rd position, the Italian stallion himself, Sandro Beccari, in that 23rd place, and he has got Tristan de Nobrega right there with him. Tristan just under a second in there, just behind Sandro Beccari, and they're followed there by Corné Briat. But back to the business end of the field. Here we go. It's Jared Waberski, 0.3 of a second ahead there of Keegan Masters, and they are now getting away from Josh Kutzer, the man that led up until that point. He's 2.4 seconds there behind them, and he's been hassled heavily there by Byron Mitchell and by Luke Lucchesi.
Yeah, Josh Kutzer will be in big trouble pretty soon, because Byron Mitchell and Lucchesi slowly but surely starting to reel him in from 4th and 5th position, and we might just see Josh Kutzer drop down the field as this race progresses.
Right, nothing much between those guys for that fight for 4th position between Mitchell and Lucchesi, and then the one for the lead as well between Waberski and Masters, as we ride aboard the Porsche of Luke Lucchesi, the 17 car of Luke Lucchesi there in that 5th position, and he's just under a second ahead there behind Mitchell, as Natim Samanga in the number 1 car gets it wrong and loses the circuit.
Yeah, Natim Samanga that put that Porsche into a bit of a tailspin and putting it onto that runoff area. Luckily no kitty litter out there in that corner, but let's have a look here what happened to Johan Engelbrecht. He's had a moment there as well with his BMW. Peter van der Spey runs a bit wide as Engelbrecht puts it sideways through the corner and gets it off onto the grass.
With Van der Spey getting it wrong, I think he ran off in sympathy there as to not hit the back end of Van der Spey. But Waberski is in trouble. And the trouble, or the problem, is called Keegan Masters. He is right in there with him. He's not letting Jared get away. That is for sure. Waberski, a seasoned racing driver, a seasoned karter, is Jared Waberski, as he is being chased there by Masters. Josh Kutzer, on the other hand, has got Byron Mitchell all over his back bumper, and Mitchell has been hassled there by Luke Lucchesi. He's only 1.1 seconds behind Mitchell.
Yeah, Lucchesi must have made a slight mistake somewhere. As Gary said earlier, you do not get away from Luke Lucchesi, but he has dropped to about 1.1 seconds behind Mitchell, where it was about 0.6 of a second earlier, and that's basically doubled now to about 1.1, 1.2 seconds behind Mitchell there for Lucchesi.
So for Miliaris, 3.3 seconds behind Lucchesi. That's the man you see there in that 43 Porsche in that 6th position. And Julian has actually gone down 4 positions since this one got underway. Mitchell's gone up 3, Lucchesi's gone up 4, and the man that they lapped there, Natim Samanga, has gone down 3 positions. Another man that's gone up pretty high is Jacques Botha in P7. He's actually moved up there 6 positions as Jacques Botha.
Yeah, one of the biggest losers at this stage of the fight, Graham Stephen, he's dropped down 16 positions down into P31. And Leon van Wyk that we spoke about earlier, he's actually gained 9 positions, along with Tim Haynes, who's gained 10 positions since the start of this race.
But I think it all must have gone wrong for Graham Stephen out there in that opening lap. It was absolutely chaos and carnage out there, and I think he might have just been involved in that. However, we'll have to look and see. Leon van Wyk has gone up 9 places. Leon sits there in the 8th position. As we have a replay here at Graham Stephen. Oh, not all as well, as he hits that wall pretty hard there on the outer right-hand side of the circuit.
Yeah, that is part of why it's all going wrong for Graham Stephen out here tonight in the Gulf Oil Porsche. And he tries to make his way back to the circuit with that car as your race leaders actually start passing him.
Yeah, there's first, second and third going past him there as Graham Stephen. Oh, the car's crabbing heavily there as he makes his way now. Hit that escape button to get himself into pits to get that thing sorted out.
Well, quite a few cars that were in the pits there now, wondering if that was due to damage or if the guys have actually started to do their pit stops.
Yeah, well, Graham Stephen definitely in because of damage. That's the replay at him going in. Remember, he hit the ball pretty hard and that car was crabbing heavily. But there you can see it's all over the place. That's a replay of him once again making his way into the pit area. That car of his wasn't handling at that point in time.
Well, that gives us a rough idea as to why he is so far down. We know that Graham Stevens very, very capable. Keegan Masters FC pacing himself or pushing Jared? I think he's pacing it.
Yeah, well, I think every now and again he just gives a nod and says, hey, I'm here. One slight mistake from you, I will get past, but not pushing it too hard, because at the end of the day, in an hour and a half long race, it is all about strategy as well.
The problem is he can pace himself only so much because Kutzer and Mitchell, and for that matter Lucchesi, is on a move. Kutzer's only 1.8 seconds behind him, and he's been kept busy there by Byron Mitchell, and only 1.2 seconds behind them is Luke Lucchesi. So Keegan Masters will be in a position where he's going to have to push. If he wants to get past, he must do it now, and they are side by side. Boberski and Masters are absolutely side by side. That's Kutzer and Mitchell, sorry. They are side by side, and it is Kutzer that is in there now behind Byron Mitchell.
Yeah, they were trading places there. Byron Mitchell just hanging on there and getting past to the likes of Josh Kurtzer, and Byron Mitchell has worked himself up into P3, and Kurtzer must be careful because this now puts him in the firing line there of Luke Lucchesi.
Remember, they can see the two front runners that's in front of them, Jay Roberski and Keegan Masters. They're going to disappear now behind the trees, and that battle that's happening right up front, probably slowing one another down just a little, but this one's not over. Side by side, it's Kurtzer and Byron Mitchell, and look who's coming closer. He ever open to any chance, Luke Lucchesi closes up from behind.
Well, if anybody can nail them, Luke Lucchesi can. He only knows one style, and that is flat out style, does Lucchesi. Lucchesi right on the case of Josh Kurtzer. There you see from the chopper cam. Is he going to have a go at him? They run past the boarding. He goes and sits on the outside there of Kutzer, does Lucchesi. They're virtually side by side, but Lucchesi has to tuck in there behind Kutzer. These guys are all over the place. Look at Lucchesi, looking for this line, looking for that line. And while they are now fighting with each other, that is now releasing Byron Mitchell.
Yeah, Byron Mitchell being released there from that fight, and now he can start setting his sights there to try and catch the two guys in the front. But you can bet your bottom dollar that Lucchesi is not giving up on this one, as he wants to try and catch up there to Kutzer. Kutzer not giving up himself because he knows he can try and still stick it there with Byron Mitchell.
There's a lovely fight going on a bit further there between Van Wyk, Haynes and Hendricks. We'll have a look at that one shortly as we still stay with this massive fight out there for first, second and third. And here we go. There's no Hendricks. He is the lead Ferrari, and he's got Haynes and Van Wyk just there ahead of him. And Timmy Haynes is all over the back there of Leon Van Wyk. Leon Van Wyk being hassled heavily there by Timmy Haynes. Will he have a go somewhere? He's right on the case of Van Wyk is Haynes, as he must be careful that doesn't get sucked into the virtual reality of the fact that you sit right behind a guy. When he makes a mistake, you make the same mistake as well. So he has to be very much focused there, as he's all over the back there of Van Wyk. Only 0.4 of a second, and Hendricks 0.5 of a second behind Haynes.
Well, Frankie, we just saw a very, very interesting camera shot there as the guys went flying over those curbs. You could actually see the Porsches getting airborne, then hitting the track extremely hard again. And we've actually had races in the past where people have actually broken suspension parts and handling parts on the cars, which actually cost them the race.
Listen to that motor of that Porsche busy performing in full tilt as we ride aboard with Timmy Haynes. It represents the UK and Ireland, sitting there in that 9th position, and Leon van Wyk has got trouble. Leon van Wyk has got trouble. It's called Timmy Haynes, the man representing the UK. I think he's the lone sole man from outside of the borders of South Africa. And here Noah Hendricks comes as well. Noah Hendricks is right in there as well. Here comes Timmy Haynes. Timmy Haynes will nail him on the outside. Van Wyk covers the line. Van Wyk covers the line. He got it slightly wrong. He's not got the drive. He's not got the momentum. They are side by side. It is Van Wyk in the white car. It is Haynes in the blue car. They are still side by side, FC, and it's eventually Haynes that gets his nose head there of Van Wyk, and right on their case is the Ferrari of Noah Hendricks.
Yeah, Noah Hendricks going to try and put that Ferrari up a position or two, but that was brought on by Van Wyk, running a bit wide out of the corner, getting it onto the grass, and the car started fishtailing coming out of that corner, and that's what allowed Haynes to get past a little bit easier.
But now it's a four-way dice because Andrew Brown has joined that fight as well.
Andrew Brown in there with them in a P11. So Tim Haynes, Leon van Wyk, Noah Hendricks, Andrew Brown, all of them going to battle it out there for that ninth position. And who's going to come out tops?
Well, time will tell. We've only done a half an hour, but there's still another hour left in this 90 minutes. Look at those four cars going down that main straight. This will be all she's got as they head towards Tamburello, and Noah Hendricks wants through. Noah Hendricks wants through there on Leon van Wyk. Van Wyk is covering the line. Noah Hendricks is going to sit there on his outside. They've got the left-hander. That is the beginning of Tamburello, and there's no ways he's going to come through. And all of a sudden, Hendricks looks in his mirror and sees, oh my word, here is this blue Porsche of Andrew Brown right in there behind me.
Yeah, Noah Hendricks desperately trying to keep anything other than a Porsche at least in the top 10 there, as he's the lone Ferrari up at the front. Everybody else ahead of him Porsches, and at least another four guys behind him Porsches as well. Then it's Swayze Hubert in 15th position in a BMW. But look at Andrew Brown hunting down that Ferrari ahead of him. Can Brown get his nose up on the inside and make a passing maneuver on Noah Hendricks?
As a matter of fact, the two BMWs are now 16th and 17th for you people at home that can't see the leaderboard. But Andrew Brown wants a piece of this Ferrari, that Porsche of Brown. Oh, look at Noah Hendricks squirming around there, trying to keep himself ahead there of Andrew Brown. Ahead of them is Leon van Wyk, and ahead of Van Wyk is Timmy Hayes, as Hendricks gets it all wrong.
Hendricks gets it all wrong, and he knows that, so he's got to give up that position. He gained a lasting advantage because of that going over there, and that hands that position to Brown, and that puts the last car that was not a Porsche out of the top 10.
So Luke Lucchesi and Josh Kutzer, they're still having a heck of a fight. And as we said earlier on, while they're having that fight, that is releasing Byron Mitchell. He's nearly 4 seconds ahead of them down the road. And here comes Julian. He's only 1.7 seconds behind Lucchesi there in P6. So Kutzer and Lucchesi will be joined pretty soon by Julian Familiaris.
Yeah, Familiaris slowly but surely creeping closer and closer there as the field starts to spread them out nice and evenly. The only real hard battles out there at the moment is between Byron Mitchell, Josh Kutzer and Luke Lucchesi. Behind them, Andrew Brown and Noah Hendricks who are chasing down Leon van Wyk. And behind them is that battle for P15 with the Jan Sparmers, Francois Hubert and Swayze Hubert.
And as a matter of interest, Gary and FC, for the people that can't see the leaderboard, I want to tell them, look at those hot shots. While you won't know it at home, you can't see the leaderboard that's sitting out of the top 25. Johan Fourie, 26. Willem Botha, 27. Andre Steenkamp, 28. Jeffrey Kruger, 29. You wouldn't believe that, but yeah, it just hasn't quite gone their way.
Riding aboard there with Josh Kutzer, the man in a 4th position in the 61 Porsche is Josh Kutzer. He is about half a second ahead there of Luke Lucchesi, about 0.6 of a second behind the likes of Byron Mitchell, and doing just about enough to defend that 4th position. But Lucchesi definitely not giving up. Look at him going hard on the brakes into that right hand as they go through there now. Is Lucchesi chasing down the likes of Josh Kutzer.
Yeah, that's making their way through Tamburello. My word, I'll tell you what, this is going to be magic stuff. There they head into Villeneuve, and then from there they'll make their way towards Tosa and Mitchell, Kutzer and Lucchesi. That is Byron Mitchell. These two are now closing up once again on Byron Mitchell. 8/10 of a second between Kutsar and Mitchell, and 2/10 of a second between Lucchesi and Kutsar, and Familiara still 1.6 seconds behind Lucchesi.
Running from the top of your leaderboard, Keegan Masters still leading this race in the number 18 car. He's pushed that lead to about 1.3 seconds ahead of Jared Waberski. Waberski now down in second place. Byron Mitchell in third place. He's 4 seconds behind Waberski, with Josh Kutze in fourth place and Lucchesi in fifth, followed by Julian Familiaris, 1.5 seconds behind Lucchesi.
19 seconds behind them is Jacques Botha, and he's been hassled heavily there by Timmy Haynes. As we have a look at Familiaris, and there's that fight between Botha and Haynes. There goes Botha, there's Haynes right in there behind him, and they're fighting it out for 8th position. And then Leon van Wyk, he's involved in a heck of a fight there with Andrew Brown, and Andrew's put the move on him there and made it stick.
Yeah, Andrew Brown now moving up there into 9th position, demoting Leon van Wyk down to 10th. Noor Hendricks in the Ferrari down in 11th position. He's just 0.3 of a second there behind Van Wyk. Then Luke King 6 seconds there behind Hendricks in the Porsche, followed by Sahud Variawa. He's about 3 seconds there behind Luke King. Keegan Campos, the next man through, in a 14th position, 2.5 seconds behind Variawa.
Yeah, and Campos has got Spalmers is the next man in there behind Campos, and he has got Francois Hubert right there with him. There's Jan Spalmers, there is Francois Hubert, and Swiss is in that fight as well. So Spalmers has got both Francois and Swiss Hubert with them, and that is so far your top 17, with Andrew Thomas 3.3 seconds behind them in 18th position.
There we go, Francois Hubert up on the inside there of Jan Spalmers, makes up that position. Into Tamburello they go, and it looks like Hubert's done enough. That BMW putting down just enough power to get past the Porsche there of Jan Spalmers.
Yeah, so those two BMWs are the bread in the sandwich there. As a matter of fact, it is the Porsche that is in there of Spalmers. He is the meat in the sandwich, as you would say. He's got Francois in the BMW ahead of him, and Swiss in the other BMW in there just behind him. So let's have a look and see if Swiss can put a move there on Jan.
Yeah, Swiss definitely not going to leave that one alone. But let's look up at this fight for 4th and 5th with Luke Lucchesi. 0.3 of a second, not a lot in it between himself and the man ahead of him, Josh Kutzer. You can see the blue tail in there of that Porsche ahead of him. He so desperately wants to get close. It's down to 0.2 of a second. It was under 1/10 of a second just now. Is Lucchesi as he starts supplying pressure there to Josh Kutzer.
Working their way through Tamburello. There they go on the gas, Luke Lucchesi. And he is in there behind Kutzer, 0.2 of a second as they go through Villeneuve. Through Villeneuve they go now, making their way up towards Tosa, and then from there they'll turn left. That's that very sharp left-hander that is Tosa, and Lucchesi is in there, and as they make their way towards the other left-hander, FC take them from there all the way down through that left-hander that come now, and then from there they'll make their way down to Aqua Minerale.
Yeah, down to Aqua Minerale they go now. That's going to be a right-hander into turn 11 and 12. Then it'll go back to a left kink into turn number 13. They go down the straight into Variante Alta, which is turn number 14. Another chicane that's been worked in there. There they go now into that right-left section. That's 14 and 15. Down another straight. There'll be a slight kink to the left. That's turn number 16, then a slight kink to the right for 17, and then into the famous Ravazza, two right-hand or left-handers going down just before you get back onto the main straight.
Right, so into Ravazza 1, out of Ravazza 2 they come now, and then onto the home straight. There's the pit lane on your right-hand side. 4th gear by Luke Lucchesi, 5th gear by Luke Lucchesi. Flat out down the home straight they go there. 6th gear by Luke Lucchesi, and this is as quick as it gets, making their way back towards Tamburello.
Yeah, into Tamburello they go there, but this is Noah Hendricks, who's still battling it out there with the likes of Leon van Wyk. Time there between the two of them hovering at about half a second between the Porsche of Van Wyk, the white Porsche, and the black Ferrari there of Noah Hendricks. Can Hendricks keep it consistent and try to make up some ground and get past that Porsche of Van Wyk?
Well, Noah Hendricks, there you see him, and then that white Takan in front of him is Van Wyk. Here comes Jacques Buerta. Jacques Buerta in 11th position, 3.4 seconds behind the Ferrari of Noah Hendricks. Then Luke King is in there in that 12th position. He's 2.2 seconds ahead of Saud Variawa, who in turn is 6 seconds ahead there of Keegan Campos. And rounding off your top 15 is the BMW of Francois Hubert.
Coming up there to lap Andre Steenkamp is Saud Variawa, flashing his lights there at the Porsche there of Andre Steenkamp, saying, buddy, I know you're in a race, but I'm a bit faster. Get out of my way, please.
And they're going to nail Johan Engelbrecht as well, because he is the next man ahead of Steenkamp that they're going to put a lap on.
Yeah, that is Saud Variawa in the number 7. It's right on board with him as he's stuck there behind the likes of Steenkamp and Engelbrecht. He would desperately want to get past them as quickly as possible to try and catch up to the likes of Luke King.
So the two black cars out there, the one is the Batmobile. He's going to be caught first there by Variawa. Boom! Through he goes there on Andre Steenkamp. And now he will line up Johan Engelbrecht.
Well, going down, that is Johan Engelbrecht in the 30th position. That's ahead there of Saud Variawa. So that is P13, starting to lap P30 out there in the form of Johan Engelbrecht. And just ahead of Johan Engelbrecht is the guy that Saud Variawa would like to catch, and that is nobody else other than Luke King.
Race leader Keegan Masters sitting out there in P1. He's 1.7 seconds ahead of Jared Boberski. So he's broken the toe there on Jared Boberski, the DAW outfit, in that second position. Then Byron Mitchell in that third place, still involved with a lovely fight here with Josh Kutzer and Luke Lucchesi. This one's still going on well. Mitchell, Kutzer and Lucchesi, and then holding station about 1.5, 1.6 seconds behind them in P6 is Julian Familiaris in the Mobile 1 car.
Yeah, Familiaris out there in P6 behind him. 23 seconds behind him is the next man out there, Tim Haynes in the Porsche. He's being chased down there by the likes of Andrew Brown. Look at how close that battle is on a screen. It's about 25 hundredths of a second between the two of them as they battle it out there, and Andrew Brown getting closer and closer to the back end there of Tim Haynes.
Then we see Leon van Wyk in 9th, and he is fighting that Ferrari of Noah Hendricks that sits there in that 10th position. There is 0.2 of a second between Van Wyk and Hendricks, between the two of them for P9 and 10. And Noah is in that leading Ferrari, and here he comes. He's lining up the Porsche of Van Wyk down that long straight into the right-hander. Will he look up on the inside? No, he won't. As here comes Jacques Buerta. He's 3 seconds behind Van Wyk and Hendricks, and then Luke King 3.2 seconds behind him. Then it's Variawa coming through, and then Keegan Campos is in 14th place, and he's got that BMW all over his back bumper there of Francois Hubert.
Yeah, Francois Hubert creeping closer and closer in that BMW. Behind him, it is the like of Jan Sparmers in the red, yellow and black Porsche. Behind Sparmers in 17th position is Suisse Hubert in the other BMW, and then he's being chased down by Andrew Thomas, who is... Leon van Wyk just dove into the pits.
Yeah, Van Wyk in that pit area. Well, we've close to 45 minutes done, so we're nearly halfway into this one. We've got about 2 more minutes to go before we hit that halfway mark. And there is Matt Shorter. He's gone down 14 positions, and ahead of him in P19 is Tristan de Nobrega. And Tristan's gone up 11 positions. As a matter of fact, FC Johan Fourie is making a comeback. He's in 21st position, and he has moved up 14 positions.
Yeah, this is a horrid race compared to Johan Fourie's normal standards. Didn't show anywhere near what he can do in qualifying. Started almost at the back end of the field, made up 14 positions to get up into 21st place. But that is not what we're used to seeing from Johan Fourie.
That's not normal, but we have to have, that's the one we have to look at right now. Mitchell, Kutzer and Lucchesi, 3, 4 and 5. There you see them all in line of stern. Byron Mitchell, Josh Kutzer and Luke Lucchesi. Lucchesi 0.3 of a second behind Kutzer, who's in turn is 0.8 of a second behind third place man Byron Mitchell. There is nothing between these three drivers as they make their way out of that left-hander. Luke Lucchesi, car number 17, sitting out there in a P5, and he is right in there. Lucchesi is crawling all over the back there of Kutsar.
Yeah, under 0.4 of a second there between Lucchesi and Kurza, and this can go either way. If anyone makes a mistake in the slightest, you will see one of those guys that change a position, and I'm surprised we haven't seen a little bit more of trading paint between them. That's how close they are.
Well, Johan Fourie shows he's in pit lane. He's Johan Fourie, so yeah, he is opting to make a pit. Well, we are basically, yeah, there he comes with the Ferrari down, Johan Fourie and Sons Ferrari down pit lane. Johan Engelbrecht in the BMW is also in the pit area. 45 minutes done, FC, so we have reached that halfway mark.
Yeah, halfway through this race right now as these guys are starting to dive into the pits. I was actually starting to calculate that we should be seeing them dive into the pits around about now, based on some of the 6-hour races that we've done before that they go dive in there. But Keegan Masters, the man in the lead in the number 18 car, leading them about 2.2 seconds ahead there of Jared Waberski.
Well, he's going to put a lap on 32nd place man Peter van der Spey. He's flashing his lights there. Van der Spey is saying, come on, Captain Pete, I've got your button. Van der Spey has gone up 2 positions though, but he moves out the way and allows Masters through. Now he'll know that Waberski is the next man that's going to put a lap on him. Captain Pete in that 32nd position, and he's about to be caught there by second place man Jared Waberski.
Yeah, Waberski now making his way up to the back end there of Peter van der Spey, trying to catch up to van der Spey there to not lose a track there of the man ahead of him, Keegan Masters.
Yeah, so Mitchell will be the next man to get him the moment Waberski clears him. Well done, Captain Pete, just keeps out the way and allows Waberski to come through. And now Byron Mitchell, 4.5 seconds behind him, so Mitchell will not be too far behind him, Byron Mitchell, but
Mitchell's made a mistake. Mitchell's made a mistake.
Yes, he's now got Kutsar all over. Here comes Josh. Josh up on the inside. Is he going to take that place away from him? No, he doesn't. Man. Oh, Josh gives him a bit of a thump. Josh says, come on, Byron, let's go, because right behind me is Lucchesi, and now less than a second behind all of them in P6 is Julian Familiaris, so he is now right there with the 3 of them.
Yeah, let's have a look here. What did Byron Mitchell do? Oh, locked up into that chicane section, and that's cost him, and that's put a lot of pressure on him. That brings Kurza and Lucchesi right up onto his back bumper.
Well, it's now game on between the 4 of them, between Mitchell, Kutsar, Lucchesi and Familiaris, and with 47 minutes done, that is that fight there for that 3rd position. Andrew Brown is in pit lane.
Yeah, Brown in pit lane there, but this is also brought to Lucchesi right up to the back bumper there of Josh Kutsar. Kutsar will be shouting and screaming at Byron Mitchell, telling him to pick up the pace, or I'm going to get past you because I've got a hard-charging Luke Lucchesi right on my tail. This is going to be a very interesting battle as this race progresses.
Ooh, Luke Lucchesi right on the case there of Josh Kutsar. And ahead of them is Byron Mitchell. That's 3, 4 and 5. And there is nothing, and I mean nothing between these 2 drivers as they are fighting it out there for that 3rd position. Luke Lucchesi, car number 17, sitting there in 5th position, 0.2 of a second behind Josh Kutsar. That is nothing. You can cover these guys, as the late Brian Peake would say, with a handkerchief.
Yeah, that is a beautiful aerial shot of how they're spaced out. And just look at that, half a second behind them. Julian Familiaris still in this as well, waiting for the slightest contact between those 3 ahead of him. And he's waiting to grab that opportunity and gain some places.
Right, so here they come down there. That car that you see in front there, that blue and white one, that is, well, just behind him you see the red one, that is Luke Lucchesi. Just ahead of him is Josh Kutsar in that blue one, and then the one just in front of them is Byron Mitchell. So that was the fight for 3, 4 and 5 that you're seeing there on screen now as Luke Lucchesi. There he comes, right on the case of Mitchell. Right behind them is that black and red machine, the Mobil 1 Porsche of the man in P6. That's Julian Familiaris. He is right in there as well, and he is 23 seconds ahead of Timmy Haynes. That's in 7th position, and then behind him in P8 is Noah Hendricks. We'll get to that fight now, because Noah is only 0.2 of a second ahead of the Porsche of Jacques Butter. We'll get to that fight now. We're still watching the one out here between Mitchell Coetzee, Lucchesi and Familiaris.
Familiaris right there by them at the back end of the field, riding on board with him now in the Mobile 1 car. That is Julian Familiaris in 6th position. He is just under a second there behind Lucchesi as that back peel starts to peel away from him again, while they're battling it out there for 3rd, 4th and 5th.
Right, what a fight we got out there. In the meantime, Masters is 2.4 seconds ahead of Boberski, who is 6.5 seconds ahead of Mitchell. And Mitchell can do nothing about Masters and Boberski at this point in time. He's got to keep Coetzee, Lucchesi and Familiaris behind him, and that's a group of 4 cars you see. Never mind the others. That 4 cars in the center of the screen, and one of them's going into the pits. One of them, Luke Lucchesi. Luke Lucchesi is making his way into pit lane.
So Lucchesi opting to dive into the pits to try and get some clean air and maybe try the undercut to try and get past Coetzee and Mitchell.
Well, 50 minutes is done, so I think Luke is saying it is time to head into the pits, and we ride aboard now with Timmy Haynes in that 7th place, and he is way ahead there of Hendricks. But Lucchesi is still there in that pit area. Where's he going to come out? There is Timmy Haynes, and Noah Hendricks is 9.7 seconds behind him. Then Jacques Butter in turn is right in there behind the Ferrari of Hendricks, and he's now got his nose ahead there of Noah Hendricks.
Yeah, ahead of Noah Hendricks is Jacques Butter. Manages to squeeze past there. Luke King behind Hendricks, but it is Luke Lucchesi that comes out in P11 behind Sahud Variawa. But keep in mind, almost everybody, if not everybody ahead of him, still needs to dive into the pits.
Yeah, that top 10 has not hit pit lane yet with 51 minutes done, so Luke will feel he's now in a comfort zone to make his way into the pits. There you can see pit stops in that top 12. It's only Lucchesi that has made his way into the pits. As a matter of fact, in the top 20, it's only Luke Lucchesi that has pitted so far.
So that'll either be a stroke of genius or a case of I had to go now or I'd be in even bigger trouble.
So let's have a look and see. This is going to be interesting stuff. We're right here with François Hubert in that 13th position, and he's all over the back there of Keegan Campos. And François Hubert is in the lead BMW in 13th place, and he's chasing down the Campos Transport Porsche of Keegan Campos. That's there in that 12th position. And then Jan Swammers is 2.7 seconds behind the two of them.
You can see a lot of movement there from François Hubert as he tries to dive left and right to get past Campos. But Luke King finds himself there in a 9th position. It's the gentleman there with the white and blue Porsche tucked in there behind Noah Hendricks' Ferrari. The red, white and blue Porsche flashes its light. It's asking, get out of my way. I'm chasing down Butter ahead of you, and he's late on the brakes into turn number 1 into that Tamburello. Is Luke King making a move there on Noah Hendricks.
Yeah,
well, Frankie, that was actually a bit of a naughty one. That if you think about it, they're fighting it out for places. And Luke King going up behind Noah Hendricks and flashing the lights. In fact, it's Jacques Butter that's directly in front of them. So I think he maybe just took a chance and said, well, let's just try and bamboozle you a little bit. But it worked either way, because Jacques Butter is now going to have to keep an eye on what's happening behind him inside of 2 seconds.
Well, Variawa and Campos made their way into the pits. I think they're busy making their way out of the pits already by now. So Variawa was also involved in a heck of a fight, and he's now decided he has to pit. And Byron Mitchell and Familiaris, both of them make their way into the pit lane area.
It'll be interesting to see now where they come out in relation to the man down in 13th position, Luke Lucchesi. Lucchesi was tucked in right there behind Byron Mitchell and just ahead of Familiaris. But how does that happen? Byron Mitchell in the pits, but he's showing the lead of the race.
Yeah, well, we have a look at Keegan Campos. That is there making his way through. Keegan Campos and, sorry, Keegan Masters, I apologize. And Jared Boberski shows in there behind him. Timmy Haynes is also in pit lane. So they are beginning to make their routine pit stops now, one after the other.
Well, let's have a look here. Byron Mitchell shows pit exit. Julian Familiaris shows pit exit. Where is Lucchesi? Still all the way down in 13th position. Nowhere near where the guys are where he was. So he must have gotten bogged down in the traffic to try and make up the time to catch those guys ahead of him.
Yeah, well, Jacques Buerta also shows there in the pit area as Andrew Brown. And that's in the fight there with Keegan Campos and Andrew Brown losing the circuit and losing the tail end there of that Porsche.
Could be lucky that it didn't put it in the kitty litter, but let's have a look here. Your race leader, Keegan Masters, yet to go into, and he dives into the pits. Keegan Masters dives into the pit lane, and he brings with him, oh, who's that ahead of him? That looks like it is Willem Buerta ahead of him.
Yeah, Buerta does show that he is in pits, which means that Jared Boberski has not gone up there into P1. And where is Luke Lucchese? He's still down there in that 12th position so far. So Keegan Masters in car number 18 in that pit area, and this feels like an absolute eternity. You're not too sure exactly when you're going to see another car just go fly past you, and if you do, is it a guy on the lead lap with you? Is it a back marker? You can't see over that pit wall. You just see flashes go past, and this is where you pray for that pit stop to get done as soon as possible.
Well, Keegan Masters could kick himself as well because he initially missed his pit box. He had to reverse back, so that cost him even more time out there.
Yeah, so he rejoins the circuit again, does a Keegan Masters in 5th position. He rejoins the track there, just ahead there of Mitchell, Familiaris, and Timmy Haynes in pit lane, as well as Jan Sparmers and Andrew Thomas.
Got Tim Haynes in the pits there, Jan Sparmers, and everybody now starting to dive into the pits. Andrew Thomas in the pit lane. Matt Shorter dives in there as well. Brings with him the almost contact there between Chase Herald and Andre Steenkamp ahead of him into pit lane.
So, nearly an hour done. The guys are beginning to pit out there. It's with Jared Boberski, Kutzer, King, and Hendricks. Those first 4 drivers have not visited the pit area yet for their routine pit stop. And as I speak, Boberski, the leader, makes his way into pit lane.
There goes Josh Kutzer as well. So that brings up everybody else. Luke King is still out there. Noah Hendricks, Keegan Masters, he already pitted. Byron Mitchell, Julian Familiaris, Lucchese. I can't help but think that Lucchese was the biggest loser out there in his pit stop time.
Let's have a look for Luke King come in as well. He is now showing in that 3rd place. He will climb up the leaderboard if he doesn't come into the pits. So let's have a look and see. Will he hit the lead? Will he stay where he is? Will he make his way into the pit area? Time will tell. He's currently in that 3rd position. Is a King 1.5 seconds ahead of Keegan Masters, and Luke King makes his way into pit lane.
Yeah, King dives into the pits, and that brings up Keegan Masters and Noah Hendricks into P3 and P4. Boberski is out of pit lane, but that brings Keegan Masters right onto his tail, and Masters retakes the lead at the front of the race there as we watch Luke King in the pits.
So Noah Hendricks sits in that 2nd position in that Ferrari, and it's the highest that he's ever been. François Hubert in the BMW in P8 is also there in pit lane. So Noah Hendricks, when is he going to make his way into pits? He is 0.5 of a second behind Boberski, with Masters and Boberski order restored. They're back there at the business end of the field again. So let's have a look and see when that Ferrari will peel off into pit lane. Peter Hubert and Swayze Hubert, both of them are in the pits as well.
Yeah, the 3 BMWs as well as the Ferrari of Johan Ferrari in pit lane now. Noah Hendricks still clinging on to that 3rd position in the black Ferrari, 0.7 of a second behind Jared Boberski. He will surely have to dive into the pits pretty soon.
So let's have a look and see. They are heading towards that is Aqua Minerale that they're going through there at this point in time. And then they will be making their way all the way down to Ravazza. There's that little kink to the left, and there's a little kink to the right, and that is Ravazza 1 that they're going through there now. Just a blimp on the throttle out of Ravazza 2, and then the home straight. And will the Ferrari come into the pits? Will the Ferrari? Yep, yeah. Into the pits comes Noah Hendricks.
Yeah, Hendricks diving to the pits there as Andre Steenkamp went and did a bit of farming with the Batmobile again. But that will see Noah Hendricks dropping down the field, and that promotes Byron Mitchell, Josh Kutzer, and pretty soon Julian Familiaris and Lucchesi back up into those top 6 positions.
So order being restored at the sharp end of the field as we approach nearly the hour mark. Waberski there in that second position, 0.6 of a second behind Keegan Masters. So this fight will continue. The lights are flashing heavily there. Masters is saying, get out of my way. The next man that will be his victim will be Peter Hubert. He's 1.7 seconds behind Peter Hubert. There you see Hubert go over the rise, and behind Hubert is your leaders, Masters and Waberski.
Waberski sitting there in P2 behind Keegan Masters. There's just half a second between the two of them. They are about 5.5 seconds ahead of third place man Byron Mitchell, who had a slight breathing room, but not for too long, because Josh Kutzer is right back on his case there. 0.4 of a second between the two of them, and Kutzer not giving up and trying to fight back for that third position.
While all the pit stops was happening, Luke Lucchesi has sneaked back up into that 6th position as Leon van Wyk. Leon van Wyk is having a look there. Is that Thomas that he's had a look at? Yes, it is. Van Wyk right in this fight as well. Van Wyk sitting there in that 14th position, and right behind him is Francois Hubert. 0.3 of a second between Van Wyk and Hubert in the BMW, just in there behind him.
Yeah, just look at that. 0.3 of a second, not a lot at all. You could literally almost reach out and touch each other if your arm was a little bit longer. Then that is how close Francois Hubert is there to Van Wyk. Let's have a look here what happened to Thomas. Thomas just did not make that corner whatsoever, and went and did a bit of sandcastle building out in the Kitila.
Went into that little bit just too hot, as Leon van Wyk still fighting out there with that BMW. But up front, it is Masters 0.5 of a second ahead there of Jared Waberski. So Masters and Waberski going one-on-one, and they got Corne Briet. That's in 21st position. That's gone up 8 positions, but he will be lapped there by Masters, and Waberski will Corne Briet. So he'll know that the two of them are right in there with him. There is Byron Mitchell, and he's got Josh Kutzer in there, 0.2 of a second in P4 just behind him.
Yeah, behind Kutzer, about 4 seconds behind him is Julian Familiaris. Familiaris about 13 seconds there ahead of Luke Lucchesi. But sticking with this battle out here for third and fourth. Oh, late on the brakes he goes, is Josh Kutzer, as he literally tries to catch up and pass Byron Mitchell. But Mitchell making that Porsche very, very wide.
Make it as wide as you possibly can, Byron Mitchell. He's only 0.3 of a second ahead of our international karter, Josh Kutzer, that raced karting in Europe a couple of years ago and did extremely well. And you can see where the international karting experience comes from, as Kutzer is right in there, 0.5 of a second behind Mitchell. This is down the main straight they go. The pits is on the right hand side, main grandstand on the left hand side, as they go flat out. There's pit exit on their right hand side into Tamburello, through Tamburello, left, right, and left again, and that sorts out Tamburello using the circuit and the rumble strip, making their way now towards Villeneuve. Through Villeneuve they go now, and then climb up that slight hill FC towards Tosa.
Yeah, towards Tosa they go, but riding on board there with Matt Shorter in 16th position. He is 0.4 of a second behind Francois Hubert. Hubert in turn just 0.4 behind Leon van Wyk. There's a good dice coming up here for that 14th, 15th, 16th position between the Porsche, the BMW, and the Porsche of Matt Shorter.
Yeah, Van Wyk, Hubert, and Shorter. They are 14, 15, and 16. We ride aboard with the 22 car of 16th place man Matt Shorter, 0.6 of a second behind the BMW ahead of him, and that is Francois Hubert, who's in the lead BMW. as they head down that main straight. He's got Van Wyk in there with him as well. What has Johan Engelbrecht done in that 99 Porsche going into, sorry, not Porsche, the BMW, and the Beamer's tail just steps out on him there going into that little chicane.
It's a little love tap.
Yeah, it's a gentle love tap. Valentine's Day is over a long time ago.
Let's see what happened here to Rudy Marais. That was just behind that as he lost it there. And
that's the love tap.
That's the love tap, yeah.
So, back to reality again. Matt Shorter in that 16th place, all over the back there of the Franz Hubert BMW, who in turn is crowding the back end there of the Leon van Wyk Porsche in 14.
But back at the front end of the field, it is Waberski in that second position, who's chasing down Keegan Masters. He's gotten it down to 0.2 of a second. He's right there, got his nose up on the inside, literally rubbing off the paint there on that back bumper, drafting down the straight. They go together. Is Masters in trouble here? Because Jared Waberski is on the move.
Well, I think that might have been Tosa that they made their way through now as they go into that that right-hander, making their way through now. I think they're heading towards the bottom end of the circuit right now. Just lost them for a moment exactly where they were. But either way, Waberski is 0.2 of a second behind him as they are literally nose to tail, Masters and Waberski.
Yeah, heading down to the final two corners is Masters and Waberski. They're going to hit to the first of Ravazza right about now. There they go. Ravazza 1 for Masters and Waberski. Now Ravazza 2 for Masters and Waberski. Down the main straight, they're going to go back now again as they've got Thomas right there ahead of them is the number 14 car of Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, he's in 20th position and he's less than a second behind the two of them. He's going to have to keep right out the way there. The lights, I'm sure, will be flashing there from Keegan Masters and Andrew Thomas. Well done. Just as they go into Tamburello, he keeps out of the way there of Masters and Waberski. Now, the next man there is Rudy Marais to be lapped, and he is in 19th position in car 33, and they're 1.5 seconds behind 19th place man Marais, who they will lap shortly.
Well, a small mistake there from Keegan Masters. That's going to bring Waberski right back up onto the tail of that Porsche of his. Waberski smells blood in the water, and he's as hungry as a shark.
Yeah, Jared Waberski, here we go, it's side by side. No, not yet, he's still right in there. And Rudy Marais will know that he's got Masters and Waberski. Masters gone up 3 positions, Waberski gone up 1, Rudy Marais has gone down 1. He's going to go a lap down to these two hot shots sitting in P1 and P2. Mitchell still 8.1 seconds in P3 behind this fight for first and second. And Marais is going to have to know exactly what's going on soon, because that Porsche of his is going to go a lap down now to Masters and Waberski.
Yeah, the problems here for Masters. Masters sawing away at that steering wheel, where you can see that Waberski is a lot smoother as he's the attacker, not defending. He gets to choose his line where he wants to go, and Masters just has to keep on slamming the door in his face. But Marais is now becoming a moving obstacle. He moves out of the way as the lead pair now comes flying past him down the main straight.
Yep, through the two of them go. The next one in their gun sights will be Chasey Herald. He's 7 seconds ahead of the two of them. But right now, Masters has got to keep an eye on Jared Waberski. They're heading into Tamburello. Waberski all over the back end there of Masters as they make their way out of Tamburello. That is Villeneuve. That you see the Villeneuve curve that you see there ahead of him. Josh Kutzer in that 4th position. He's right on the case of Mitchell. That's another fight out there for 3rd position. Mitchell defending that 4th position heavily there to Josh Kutzer.
Yeah, Byron Mitchell in a whole heap of trouble there because Kutzer is extremely fast. He's going to go sit around the outside. He goes too deep. Now he does the switchback, comes back down to the inside. But Byron Mitchell covers him off. But look at how much speed Kutzer is able to carry through there. Also flashing his light saying, hang on, you can't just defend as willy-nilly as you like to do.
Well, I'll tell you what, they're fighting out there for that 3rd position, and he's the cheek of him to flash. Well, if not, why not? If you're quicker, then You need to show that you are quicker. You need to show that you are fast. Intimidate him wherever and whenever you can. And that's what it's all about. But Mitchell's not going to be intimidated that easily, that's for sure. Byron Mitchell, a man that raced clubmans at Killarney Main Circuit, GTI Challenge, and races in Class S in the Formula Libre category at Killarney. He's a young man that does 1 minute 10s, 1 minute 9s around Killarney in the Class S Formula Libre car that he races, and he knows he's got another young gun of Inkutsa just in there behind him, international South African karter Josh Kutsa.
Just over 20 minutes left in this race here, and Waberski is still on the attack there behind Keegan Masters. Masters has now got a bit of breathing space between himself and Waberski. It's back up to about 4/10 to half a second between Masters and Waberski, but it looks like Kurtz has done enough. Josh Kurtz has gotten past Byron Mitchell.
Yeah, he's made the move there on Mitchell Kutsa. So now he's 10.7 seconds behind Waberski, and this is the overtaking maneuver into Tamburello. Wow, the nerve into Tamburello to make the move there and to make it stick as well.
Well, I can tell you what, if his pedal boxes haven't shifted on his rig, then something else definitely did. But a brilliant move there by Josh Kutzer back up into that third position. Let's see Julian Familiaris. He sits there in 5th place. He's now going to put his sights there on Byron Mitchell. He's also going to be trying to be part of this fight.
Yeah, so Mitchell's been attacked there by Familiaris. As a matter of fact, Mitchell is all over the back of Kutzer still. Remember, Kutzer made the move on him, but Josh is not going to get away from Byron that easily. So that fight is not done yet. What it has done, it's brought Familiaris into play as well. But unfortunately for Luke Lucchese, he is 14 seconds behind that lot.
Big drop that he had after his pit stop. Let's have a look here what happened to Sway Subert in the number 32, or just got it all wrong and pitched that for the BMW of his sideways across the circuit. Oh, luckily nobody else touched him.
So off he goes, and that's Lucchese that just came through there on his inside. Byron Mitchell in pit lane. Now, is this a pit stop or is this a drive-through penalty? It looks like it's a drive-through penalty, FC.
That looks to me like it's a drive-through as well.
Yeah.
Possibly for impeding. Because remember, I'm not too sure what the clock of the course's view is in this form of racing, but in a lot of your main circuit racing, one of the rules are saying that you are only allowed to make a move and defend, I think it's twice, and no movement under braking.
Change lane once,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
all.
Single lane change. Right, for the folks at home that can't see the leaderboard, we did say earlier on, apologies for that, a small glitch that came in just as we went live, and making it not possible for you to see the leaderboard. So let's run from the top down and see where all our favorite racers are.
So Keegan Masters sitting out there in P1, and his next target will be Johan Engelbrecht. That's in 35th position. He is 3.9 seconds behind Johan Engelbrecht. Johan's dropped down 11th position. So this combination of Masters and Waberski is now 3.7 seconds behind Engelbrecht in the 99 car that they will be lapping shortly.
Yeah, Keegan Masters, the man in the lead of this race, that red and white Porsche you see at the front there. But is it going to be for that much longer? Because here comes Jared Waberski. They're side by side coming down the main straight. Who's going to be first on the brakes? With both of them stomp on the brakes at the same time as Jared Waberski looked to try and copy that move that he saw earlier from Kurzer, trying to get past the Masters there. Masters in big trouble because he's got that yellow and blue Porsche of Waberski all over his back bumper.
Oh, the chip off the old block there is Jared Waberski, the son of the famous Garth Waberski, and he is all over the back there. Garth Waberski used to race Formula Fords and then also the old Formula GTI single-seaters, and Jared also a great South African karter. And he is really a chip off the old block there. He's Jared Waberski, and he's making Keegan sweat. He's making Keegan Masters sweat. He is okay because he is 12.7 seconds ahead of Familiaris. He's under no pressure. Is Jared Waberski. You cannot say the same for Keegan Masters. This is pressure personified.
How did all of this happen? Lucchesi got past both Mitchell and Kutzer, and he's now up into 4th position.
Yeah, well, something must have happened. I'm sure if something did happen, that Gary will pick it up for us as they head down into Ravazza 1 and now out of Ravazza 2 down onto the home straight. So quite right, Familiaris is in 3rd, Lucchesi is in 4th, and Kutzer and Mitchell sit there in 5 and 6. As a matter of fact, Mitchell's still all over the back end there of Kutzer.
Yeah, behind Byron Mitchell, Luke King in 7th position, 13 seconds behind him, followed by Jacques Butter in that 8th position.
All right, so we've had Mike Verrier that's been watching everything from the background. He was in the earlier race, and he's also part of the management that determines the admin side of things for our racing, and he is now also in direct contact with the clerk of the course as well. So giving us an update as to those drive-throughs penalties. Mike Verrier, good evening to you.
Hi Gary, how's it going?
Fantastic. What a brilliant race. Everything we hoped for, expected and more. Round number 2, it's utterly brilliant.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. The stream looks gorgeous in 1080. The commentary is fantastic, and it's a beautiful race. There were a couple of early incidents which are just unfortunate. They always happen in iRacing. But what the guys will be seeing now is that some of the drivers will be getting drive-through penalties like Byron Mitchell just had, and that will be because they've reached the penalty limit. So every time you get an off-track, it's a 1x, or if there's a contact, it's a 4x, or if you have a spin or lose control, it's a 2x. And when those add up to 17, you get a drive-through penalty, and that's almost certainly what happened to Byron Nana. And on this track, it's very easy to accumulate those. So it'll be happening to a lot of guys, and it can shake up the order quite quickly.
Mike, as you're sitting in your rig, the likes of Byron Mitchell, can you see those points adding up as we see Keegan Masters diving into the pits? And that's for his second stop, 1 hour 15 into it. Is that also a drive-through?
I'm not watching at the moment, so I can't see what he's doing. But you can see the penalty points, but they're on the SDK software, which I know you guys have there. I don't know if you've got that option loaded, but you can see the penalty points if you're an admin, if you use the SDK software. In fact, on your last stream, you had them on the leaderboard. You had the penalty points on the leaderboard.
That's correct. The only reason why we haven't put it up is because of the fact that the folks at home cannot see that leaderboard. But while we were listening to Mike, we did see Keegan Masters working his way through, and that drops him now down to 3rd position after that drive-through penalty. Jared Waberski up front. Is the championship turning out pretty much as you expected it, Mike?
Well, it's the usual guys at the front who you expected. The one person who I feel desperately sorry for is Umpi Swart, because he's one of the genuine top 5 contenders, and he had terrible luck at Silverstone, and now he had terrible luck here. He got penalized on lap 1, so yeah, it's been a bad start for him. But other than that, and also Jason Garcia, he was glitching out tonight. His car kept flashing on and off, so we had to actually pull him from the server. So a couple of things like that have happened, but other than that, yes, it's the guys who you'd expect to be up front. I see Johan Furi's also had some bad luck, and he's making his way up from the back in this race.
Yes, well, Frankie, that links up with what you were saying, the fight back there by Johan Furi. But Mike Verrier, for you and Yaku, fantastic. There was great expectation for this. I'm pretty sure the boys at MSA will be realizing what you were telling them. And we look forward to watching the series just grow and grow in the future.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, everyone's having a baptism of fire, because this has never been done before. So Wayne Riddell, big thanks to him for doing the CRC work. And he's obviously going to learn as well and evolve in his decision making. But yeah, he's doing a brilliant job as well. So thanks to him.
Excellent, folks. There we go. That was the voice of Dr. Mike Verrier, 8 Call 24/7, linking up with Yaku Steyn. Yaku Steyn doing brilliant work for us in the background and making it all possible. And as we said, when we're going in at this level with 30 plus of the best in South Africa, we're working through the glitches and making sure that we bring you the best possible quality out there. Let's go back to the front end of the field, and Frankie, you'll take us through the top 10 with 1 hour 18 gone of 1 hour 30.
Well, with Keegan Masters getting that drive-through penalty, he's gone now from P1 to P3, and this whole race has been blasted wide open because Roberski leads this one, and he is 12 seconds ahead of Familiaris Julian, that now finds himself in that second position, and he is 6.6 seconds ahead of Keegan Masters, who is 6.2 seconds ahead of Luke Lucchesi, who is 5.6 seconds ahead of Josh Kutzer. So this whole thing with this drive-through penalty, that top 5, the gaps are massive all of a sudden as we are approaching 1 hour and 20 minutes. Only Byron Mitchell, that's there in that 6th position, is crawling all over the back of Kutzer, that is there FC in P5.
Yeah, behind Mitchell there in P7. Luke King, he's 15 seconds there behind Byron Mitchell, and another 9 seconds behind him you find the likes there of Jacques Buerta, with Noor Hendricks in the Ferrari another 6 seconds behind Buerta, and Andrew Brown that just makes his way past Saud Variawa into the top 10.
Yeah, that is Andrew Brown that's there in that 10th position, and you got his nose ahead there of Saud Variawa. That is there in that 11th position. He's going to come back at him again, that's for sure. But we know that Andrew Brown in the earlier stages of this race was pretty quick indeed. So Andrew in 10th and Saud is in that 11th position, who in turn is 6.8 seconds ahead of Keegan Campos. That is there in that 12th position. Oh, this race is wide open. Look at all the gaps. Palmer's in 13th place is 2.3 seconds behind that. And then not too far behind him, 1.1 seconds, is Leon van Wyk. So van Wyk is still in there with a chance in that fight with Jan Sparmers.
Yeah, Jan Sparmers still in there as well. In P15, it's Tim Haynes in the 188 Porsche. He sits there in P15, followed by a Francois Hubert in the BMW, 4 seconds behind him. Then Johan Fourie has managed to work his way all the way up into 17th position in the Ferrari, who's 15 seconds there behind Francois Hubert. And then Chase Herald 2 seconds behind him in 18th, followed by Rudy Marais and Andrew Thomas in 20th.
Yep, that's your top 20. Just out of that is Peter Hubert. That is the second of the BMWs. The lead Beamer is in 16th position. Peter in the second BM is there in that 21st position in the 777 motor car. And then Corne Breet is in 22nd position. Most of these drivers from about, I think, 17th, 18th position, 18th I would say, is at least 1 lap down. The rest, well, from there, lap or more down. But it's all about Roberski, and those dogfights that we saw early on is completely gone out the window. Nearly 12 seconds ahead of Julian Familiaris.
Oh, 8 minutes to go, and Frankie, as you said there, we've actually seen this earlier on at the starting phases of the Masters Series as well, where those drive-through penalties actually started shaking it up quite a bit. Then later on, as the guys started getting used to it, we actually started seeing the guys not rack up as many penalties. But with this series being as young as it is, and the guys not really knowing how to race with each other out on the circuits, and the nature of the circuit, very, very easy to rack up those penalties, and that's where we see those drive-through penalties come.
It's a lovely track. It's got all that you want. It's got straights, it's got hairpins, it's got kinks, it's got chicanes, it's got everything that you could possibly want, as Byron Mitchell is there in that 6th position, and he is 15.8 seconds ahead of Luke King, that is there in P7. So yeah, this one with approaching 7 minutes has gone from as exciting as it gets. It's just gone wide open with massive gaps in between the drivers at this point in time. A replay at Leon van Wyk, just losing the circuit and whacking the wall there on his left hand side.
Yeah, that's, we spoke about it earlier, just flying over those ramps. There's Andre Steenkamp does the same, runs it a bit wide and almost puts it in the kitty litter. The thing's not going well for the Batmobile out there today, as everybody takes evasive action around that Porsche.
So, Graham Stephen, oh, what a nightmare he's had in Porsche number 19. Also losing the circuit. That car was crabbing heavily early on when he hit the wall a couple of times, and it's just not working out tonight for Graham Stephen. A replay here. Once again, Andre Steenkamp in that Batmobile going into Tamburello, going in very hot into Tamburello and having to do a bit of farming in the process.
I can't really call Andre Steenkamp's car the Batmobile anymore tonight. It's more like the Batplow at this stage of the fight, as Tristan de Nobrega also goes and does a bit of farming.
Yeah, Tristan de Nobrega making his way back out on track after getting it all wrong. So, back with Boberski. That sits there in P1 with 6 minutes left. He has 10.8 seconds, nearly 11 seconds ahead of Familiaris. You wouldn't have believed this. The moment the Keegan Masters drive-through penalty came, FC, all of a sudden the gaps just opened up between the drivers.
I think as we were confused. We saw Byron Mitchell go into the pits. We didn't see any of the others, but all of a sudden everybody got shaken up. And you got Luke Lucchesi that came through from 6 all the way up into 3rd. So I think there's a couple of drivers that went into go and wave bye to their pit crews in the pits.
Yeah, to go and just wave and say hello to the COC and drive out the other side. So I believe you're right there, because that just blew this whole thing apart. As Julian there in that second place, nearly 11 seconds behind Weberski. So with 5 minutes approaching, all of a sudden this one has just slowed, in inverted commas, right down.
Alright, about the closest battle at this stage of the fight would be Byron Mitchell on Josh Kurtzer, and behind them it would be Leon van Wyk on Tim Haynes and Francois Hubert on Leon van Wyk there for 14, 15, 16. But Byron Mitchell, the man in 6th place in the number 21 car, riding on board there with him, trying desperately to try and make up the ground there to Josh Kurtzer after the drive-through penalty, but it might be too little, too late.
4.5 minutes left to go before we see the checkered flag. We look at Francois Hubert. He is in the lead BMW in that 16th position, coming out of Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2, making his way down the home straight. That is Leon van Wyk ahead of him there in the number 79 Porsche in that 15th position. And he has got Francois right in there behind him, as a matter of fact. There's only a second between the Van Wyk and Hubert, as there the two of them go, heading down into that chicane, that left-right chicane.
Yeah, Francois Hubert desperately trying to catch Leon van Wyk ahead of him there as they go up to, is that Tulsa? Yeah, there they go.
Yeah, the chicane was Villeneuve, yes.
Yeah. So, riding on board there with Francois Hubert, trying everything he can to catch Van Wyk ahead of him. You just saw Tim Haynes there briefly ahead of Leon van Wyk. That is your positions of 14th, 15th and 16th out on circuit.
Through Aqua Minerale, that group of cars go, as Byron Mitchell there in that 6th position, making his way into what I believe is Villeneuve. We'll have a look and see exactly where they are out on track. If it is, then Tosa will be the next one. Byron Mitchell coming out. Yeah, that is Tosa that they are going through now. So into that little straight with that little kink towards the right, and then they'll make a left-hander, and then through that left-hander he will make his way towards Aqua Minerale.
Through Aqua Minerale they go, but into Ravazza they go now. Jared Weberski leading this race. 2.5 minutes left in this one for Weberski, out in the number 20 blue and yellow Porsche in the lead, followed by Julian Familiaris. Keegan Masters 3 seconds there behind Familiaris, with Luke Lucchesi 10 seconds behind Keegan Masters.
So the time is running out now. There is 8.9 seconds between Weberski's last lap was a 1:48.78 by Jared Weberski. Now he does not need to wind the wick up anymore, Weberski. He is nearly 9 seconds ahead of Familiaris. So if I was Jared right now, I'll just lay off the gas for a while. He knows he's in a comfort zone. Keegan Masters is 3.6 seconds behind Familiaris, and he is 10.8 seconds ahead of Luke Lucchesi.
Yeah, on a lap time of about 1 minute 40, 1 minute 39, 1 minute 38. If you could hang back just enough, you could basically finish it by the end of this one. But will he be able to slow down enough without getting into trouble with Familiaris? We'll have to wait and see. Or is he going to do another lap as they go through the corners there, through Tulsa they go. That's Luke Lucchesi in 4th position in the number 17, chasing down Andrew Thomas ahead of him, putting a lap there on the 20th place car is Luke Lucchesi. Behind them, Josh Kurtzer. He got past Graham Stevens, and behind that is Byron Mitchell.
Yeah, who's right there on the case of Graham Stevens. Have a look here at Noah Hendricks. He's in the lead Ferrari and making his way into Ravazza and getting it all wrong there into Ravazza. Between Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2 gets that Ferrari stepping out of shape.
Ooh, almost took somebody else out there as Zach Forster goes and does a bit of ploughing as well. We should be close towards the end of this race. Has the likes there of Waberski crossed the line with 30 seconds away? It looks like they're coming through Ravazza now. No, not yet. That is down into the...
I think that's going towards Villeneuve.
Yeah, that's going towards Villeneuve. So basically on the last lap now is your race leader, Jared Waberski. We're 10 seconds away from calling this race a race, with Waberski leading them ahead of Familiaris with Keegan Masters in 3rd.
So just under 4.9 Ks this track as they head up towards Tosa. So this is definitely the last lap for all of these drivers up over the rise. And then there is that left-hander that takes them through Tosa. So now through Tosa, they go on the gas into that right-hander, and that is towards Aqua Minerale, and he is now heading towards the end of the lap. He'll start dropping downhill, and then he will be making his way towards Ravazza.
Yeah, into the last chicane he goes, Variante Alta. He goes now, then it's going to take him down that hill all the way to Ravazza. Ravazza 1 will wait for him, then there's one more corner to go, and then that is it for Jared Waberski. Bar a freak accident, nothing can stop this man now from taking this race. 8 seconds ahead of Julian Familiaris is your race leader as he comes down the main straight for the last time. Across the finish line he'll go as he goes around that final bend. And there we go. Congratulations, Jared Waberski, on a race win for race number 2 of the MSA GTE Series.
The Mobile 1 car of Julian Familiaris, 8 seconds behind him, will finish there in 2nd position. And 5.1 seconds behind him will be Keegan Masters. That is your podium. Just outside your top 3 is Luke Lucchesi, 9.3 seconds behind Keegan Masters. He finishes in P4. And running off the top 5, only 1.7 seconds behind Luke Lucchesi is Josh Kurtzer.
Yeah, 2.6 seconds there behind Kurtzer's Byron Mitchell in P6 with Luke King. He's 22 seconds there behind the 6th place man. We're riding on board with him down the main straight. He'll go to across the finish line. That is the number 4 Porsche of Luke King coming home in 7th position. And 11 seconds behind him, the bright blue, green and red car there of Jacques Buetta, bringing home that Porsche in 8th position.
9th place across the line will be Andrew Brown. He is 6.8 seconds behind Buetta. Then P10, top 10 for Noah Hendricks, and the lead Ferrari. There he comes towards us. Well done there to Noah Hendricks. He will finish in 10th position. Very Harbour will cross the line, and he is going to be just ahead there, 0.7 of a second ahead of Keegan Campos.
Yeah, Keegan Campos coming through there, followed by Jan Spalmers. Then Tim Haynes will bring home that Porsche in 14th place, just ahead there of Leon van Wyk and François Hubert, and that is everybody that was on the lead lap. Behind Hubert, Johan Ferry was the first man that finished behind the race leader. But what a brilliant race it was for race number 2 of the MSA GTE Series for 2022.
30 odd cars in this one, and 16 cars finishing on the lead lap. Brilliant stuff. Everything we wanted and more, both the Porsche Cup, brilliant stuff, and the MSA backed GTE Series as well. This is as good as it gets. The best of the best of the best out here in both classes, this evening.
Just look at the names that we have out there. Jared Roberski, the son of Garth Roberski, Julian Familiaris, international racer, Keegan Masters, you name it, he's driven it on main circuit. Luke Lucchesi, one of the fastest iRacers out there, and a man that's had a very extensive main circuit career as well. Rounding out the top 5, Frankie, Josh Koetser. Brilliant drive by him.
South African international karter Josh Koetser finishing there in that 5th position, ahead of another main circuit ace from Killarney International Raceway, Byron Mitchell, and then Luke King. Probably one of our top racers. Don't know too much about Luke King. I know that Jacques Botha is one of our top class racers, followed there by Andrew Brown, and then Noah Hendricks in the first of the Ferraris in 10th position.
So Variawa bringing home a P11, followed by Keegan Campos in 12th. Jan Sparmers bringing home the Porsche there in 13th place, followed by Leon van Wyk. Francois Hubert in 15th. 16th going to Tim Haynes. Johan Free rounding off that top 17, followed by Chase Herald, Rudy Murray, and Andrew Thomas in 20th position.
Yeah, and then just outside that, Peter Hubert. All these drivers are, of course, one lap down, followed there by Corne Breed. Willem Botha, he had an absolute nightmare out there. Sander Bakari had a nightmare out there. Jeffrey Kruger had a horror show out there, that's for sure. Tristan de Nobrega, wow, the son of Mark de Nobrega, one of our famous single-seater drivers of Formula GTI and Formula Ford. Mark, Tristan finishing there in 26th position.
Yeah, and then behind them, guys who didn't finish the race there, Jason Kutsia and Umpi Swart having dropped out there right at the beginning of the race, so what a pity.
Yeah, that's a big shocker, that one.
Well, that was brilliant stuff, and just received a word from Dr. Mike.
Hi everybody, I just want to say congrats to Gary and his team at Second Gear Productions for a fantastic stream. Mostly I want to thank the guys who took part. 37 drivers started the race. Ultra competitive, you guys are insanely good. When Francois Hubert is only coming 16th, you've got to know that the pace up front is really, really hot. Jared Roberski, again, untouchable, well done. I'm hoping someone can take the fight to him this season. I'm looking really forward to the next race, and thank you to Canvas Intelligence and the other sponsors who are putting up the prize money. Until next time, good night.
Well, folks, that pretty much wraps it up with a word there from Dr. Mike Verrier, your international and national and local and regional commentator team, FC Nieuwoud and Frankie Innes. FC, a closing word from your side?
Brilliant stuff once again, and I look forward to the next one. From my side, everybody, good night.
Frankie, from you?
Looking forward to the Masters Series once again
Hell
next
yeah.
week, Wednesday, that's for sure. And then from my side, a big thanks to Canvas Intelligence and to ASAP, two of our top sponsors. And then, of course, to Gary from Second Gear Talk Show and Second Gear Productions. What a show. And then just from my side as well, thanks to Dr. Mike Verrier and Jaco Steyn. What an absolute blast. Masterminds, these two gentlemen coming up with this. And then a big thanks as well to Wayne Riddell. And a big thank you as well to MSA for backing the series.
Fantastic. And don't forget about the touring car series as well. There's one of those every month.
Yes,
There's
and
one
Jaco Steyn is the brainchild behind that one as well, yes.
That one's going to be brilliant. From our side, Gary Fleming, on behalf of Second Gear Productions, Second Gear Talk Show, we look forward to bringing lots more action for you in the not too distant future. Thank you for joining us, and good night to you, one and all.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.